It looks like I got a good 6 viewers. That's about as much as I ever expect. So and other people will watch it later, and most people don't even care because I'm just a writer. Most of them have the feeling of just keep writing, just keep writing. I don't care about your website, your business, your other projects, or anything else. All right. This is I like to show the website. This is what it's supposed to look like. If it's not looking that way for you, then you probably have an issue with your browser because this is what it looks like for me. You can log in here. I don't know. I did that video earlier, and then I got some people coming back and saying they didn't understand what I was saying. Like I thought it was as clear as possible, but I still have people who can't seem to figure out how to sign up from Patreon. For you FFA guys, it's actually identical. I mean, you sign up the exact same way. That's why I'm confused, or why people keep getting confused. All you have to do is log in and then buy a month. Anyone who's ever did an order on Amazon or anything else, any online store should know how to do this. For most of you, it would set up an auto renew in whatever you choose to pay with, and then every month you would be paid again. And then for those that it doesn't set up that way, or rather for those who are on Patreon, you set up and you pay with Patreon, but then I give you basically a free voucher so that you can get it every month, and then you just got to renew it yourself manually. Eventually, I'd like to build something that allows it to renew automatically. Well, I've had issues with that in the past. The main guy that was working on the site and the one that set up Restricted Content Pro, Zevin, he got a job and ended up too busy, and that's kind of where he disappeared to. So a lot of the stuff I was planning on having set up never got set up, and that's kind of where I'm at with that. I hope it's better for most of you. I included it because I have been getting a lot of complaints. You'll see in the survey, there's a good 6 or 7% of people who had issues continuously with trying to connect with Patreon, with the Patreon link. But yeah, I think that this method is the best I got for the moment. It allows everything with my Restricted Content Pro to work, so that I can unlock stuff properly, and you guys won't be denied stuff or won't be seeing as many errors or glitches or whatever. So I still have a technician I hired who's supposed to go and make a couple things more logical and easier to understand, but he's not been reliable, and I do not know how that's going to go. Almost certainly I'm going to be getting my money back because I don't see him suddenly coming out with everything finished and working properly. He's actually the one who knocked down my site a couple days ago, and yeah, that frustrated me. Yeah, Patreon does suck. I absolutely agree with you. That's why I wanted to get things onto my full frontal access. Still, most of my support does come from Patreon, and I don't have a good feel for how many people are supporting me through FFA, because it's just not very easy. So until the money's all in, I really don't know. It's less than Patreon by a fairly large amount. So that's why I get really worried when Patreon starts dropping, because that's the majority of my support. And I'm not sure if people are dropping Patreon or jumping over to FFA. I do know that Patreon's been dropping like a brick lately, and relative to what I was doing before. So that worries me a little bit. At some point, I kind of have to accept there's going to be an upper limit where I can't keep growing, or it might just be like a temporary lull. You never know. We got people who are going back to work from that. I noticed that there was this 8-month long span of time where my my stuff started to get slower, and yeah, I kind of realized. Well, no, there's last year in 2020 there was a sudden rise. I was about 30% more readership every month, and then it suddenly dropped about 6 months ago, and I was like, oh yeah, that's because of the shutdowns. Everyone was stuck at home, so they were reading. So it wasn't just the news industry that was that was hit with that. Apparently, it was everything, including entertainment. Patreon, I keep it because it's probably still the best way for me to see that stuff. There are people who they have like 5 or 6 people they donate to, and they like to have just it all taken out once a month through a service. So there are reasons to keep Patreon around, but cutting them out as much as possible is probably my best interest, because they could decide any day to just cut me, or worse, they could cause a lot of trouble if like for whatever reason they stop supporting API. Well, they stopped supporting API, but if for some reason they shut down their API or did some other crazy thing, and I can't put it past them at this point, they would decimate me. Now my site's a bit more bulletproof. There's still a lot of, like I said, donators tied up with Patreon, but if they suddenly go AWOL, it's not as bad. Although I've had issues with Stripe refusing to accept money, like they didn't want to handle my business, and I had to write a letter to them and beg them to give me permission, which they eventually did, and PayPal could potentially cut me off. So I'm still in that risky mode where if the wrong person decides they don't like me, it's possible to start chopping off my revenue streams. But for the moment, I'm pretty stable. So I just and yeah, FFA. I just call it FFA. It's just a Restriction Content Pro. It's just a membership plugin that I have for my site. I bought one. I was using a free one originally, and for those of you who've only joined me recently, it was in January that I switched over to this new one, and that had a lot of trouble, and it's still been a lot of trouble, but hopefully the trouble's ending now. Anyway, questions. I ran across your work through Amazon. Is there a plan to continue that? I just released MDL Volume 10. I do make a good amount of money on Amazon, and at the moment I feel like Amazon growing is the best way for me to kind of keep supporting myself. But there is a problem. Amazon did randomly one day decide to ban my account without warning, and it took me 2 weeks to bring it back, and it ended up costing me about $2,000 with lost sales. So Amazon is one of those people that also will just shut me down if they feel like it. So while I want to continue to grow with them, I got to be pretty cautious. I'm pretty relaxed letting MDL chapters out on Amazon. I don't think they're a lot of risk, but I think there's a lot more risk when you're looking at like World of Women. They won't even accept. I tried and they blocked it. Yeah, it's a 12-year-old's sleeping with his sisters didn't really fly by their radar. So I do get shut down a little bit. I've also been working a little with Smashword. I'd like to put out more chapters with Smashword. I've only put out 4 volumes so far from my dungeon life, and I'd like to put out more. Most of the time, it's just a problem with time. When I have a week off, I can work on this stuff, and I've actually completed 2 ebooks this week. But during the weeks when I'm writing every day, it's very difficult to find time to get just down to getting the books edited, getting them formatted, and getting them sent out. So that's one of my biggest restrictions. I'd like to eventually put out the Apocalypse, the Volume 1 and Volume 2 of that. I would like to do something with Moth, Man of the House, and get that out. And so yeah, there's a lot of chapters, there's a lot of books to put out, and there's actually is good money in that. It's just a matter of finding the time. I've been trying to hire people, but it hasn't worked very well. I've had a lot of issues, like with the tech guy who I have no clue what he's doing right now, other than occasionally knocking down my site. All right. There also, yeah, there's just a lot of issues. There is one person I'm working with. He's been editing for me, and he has been working on some kind of plugin or software that'll automatically, basically, strip books from my site and automatically turn them into ebooks, which is both really nice and extremely dangerous. Because if that gets out, there's a book that could instantly make my ebooks without my input. I'm sure a lot of people would happily share that and use it and generate ebooks, and I would not make any money. But nah, it would save a lot of time, and it would make things a lot quicker if that gets working too. So, honestly, I saw I didn't know about CHYOA. I didn't know about it either. I actually had a fan who had known about it, and he went up to me. He actually paid me to write a chapter for one of the books that he liked. He was like, I like this book. The author hasn't been writing more. What, can you write a chapter? So he paid me to write a chapter for that. I was like, not a bad way to get something. And that's how I learned about CHYOA, that the Choose Your Own Adventure. I don't know. I've used it a little bit, but I haven't been that excited about it. It would be a good one. I'm always looking for a new place to kind of, because one of my issues is just getting my name out there publicly. Like, Facebook has me locked. I can't get into it, and like if my link is on Facebook, it immediately gets deleted. I'm like, my site is completely blacklisted on Facebook. I could probably talk to them, get a hold of somebody, and get them to unblacklist me. I think it was probably something done automatically or on a whim, because there was nothing I really specifically did that should have caused it. It started a few days. I tried to create a Whatsawhizzer web novels Facebook page, and it was stripped down and just knocked out like a day or two later. And so I don't know why they did that, but hopefully there's a way to undo that. I just haven't gotten around to it. But anyway, the point was I'm looking at other ways to try to get my name out there. The best ways I've felt worked for doing it would be the Scribble Hub and Royal Road. And I do see where people click from, so I do see what works the best. And I do think most of my people still come from Machine Sliced Bread. I think that's actually where I started. For those of you who've been around from the beginning, I started on Machine Sliced Bread. Well, no, I actually started on my own blog, which was just a .wordpress, which I started to translate Arifureta, the world's strongest common job, or whatever you want to call it. I did the final translations on that, and then wrote my big list of isekai, which is still on my site. And then I went over to Machine Sliced Bread because I wanted to try an erotica, and that's ended up growing a lot faster and a lot bigger than I thought it would. And once I started getting more and more money, I started putting more and more time into it, and it kind of snowballed into where I am now. So I'm sure half of you have already heard this story, since I probably tell it every time I go on. But yeah, I started with the translations and writing that big isekai list of reviews. And I also wrote Requiem to the Stars. I started that as kind of my take on isekai, by adding a sci-fi element to it to make it something more interesting. And then sometime I wanted to I had read an article about niche writing for Amazon, and it was kind of the basis of you write a 16,000 word to 8,000 word short sex story, and you just put it on Amazon and sell it for $1, and then you'd write like one a week, and you just keep popping them up on Amazon, and then some of them will sell, and then more of them will sell, and then you kind of build them, and they're all that would be based on one extremely specific theme, and basically you carve out a niche for people who are interested in that, and that's how, and that you could end up making a killing that way. And so I was interested in trying that out, and so but I didn't want to just start publishing on Amazon, so I created a story that I wrote on Machine Sliced Bread, which at the time I had ended up becoming an affiliate with them through my translating stuff, and I just asked Pun, who's the creator of that site, if I could post on his site. So I created the original content section on that site. It didn't exist until I started posting there, and he said sure. And then I posted Tales of a Seductress, and I did that for a while, and it ended up being a much longer story and a much bigger story than I planned. 80 chapters, give or take, and 200,000 words. It just became too much to put on Amazon, so I kind of lost interest in doing that. And then I started Power of Creation, and this is all free. I wasn't making any money off of any of this. It wasn't until I came out with World of Women, that the third novel, that I actually opened up a Patreon, and throughout the entire first volume, I was only making $30 on Patreon, and that was my support, and I usually took that money and I immediately put it back into pictures. So I tried to hire people to draw illustrations for Power of Creation for me. So yeah, I immediately started putting that money back, and it wasn't until I finished the first volume, I just went on and I said, I don't know if I want to write a second one. If support reaches a certain amount, I'll start writing a second one. And that's when my support exploded, like up to $700 from 30 or 40. And that was really when I started seeing the viability of doing this. So I started writing World of Women more, and for a while I was up to 3 chapters a week of World of Women, and that was back when I wrote 4,000 word chapters. So that was quite a bit of writing. And yeah, I went out to the second season and eventually moved over to this site. I originally was keeping this site pure. I didn't want erotica on this site. And, and clearly, eventually, I just broke down and said, screw it. And it kind of went full into the, I'll write whatever I want. It's fine. And so I bought my own URL and with WordPress, and finally got a site set up. And that site got torn down at one point, and then I had to switch to a new host because WordPress didn't like the content on my site. They banned me. So I've had a history of being banned from just about everybody. I've been banned by Stripe. I've been banned by Facebook. I've been banned by all because I don't know what I write. Just they don't like. Mostly it's because I call myself an erotica author sometimes, and that sets them off, even though, I mean, most of you have read my books. There's erotica in them, but there are certainly books with more and certainly books with less. So, I don't know. So, anyway, I just like giving that story where I come for anyone who's interested in going the same direction or anything like that, but I'm always looking for new places, so if anyone knows somewhere that's good to post new chapters beyond Scribble Hub and Royal Road, I would totally love to have other places to put out my chapters for free in order to try to get people interested and get people coming to me. There's actually the big one I'm focusing on right now is Amazon. Amazon is rolling out something called Amazon Vella. That's why you're seeing chapters of Automatic Girlfriend. And honestly, I'm kind of thinking Untitled Zombie Story might end up on there as well. So basically, if you know web novel, which I'm sure some of you say, why don't you do it on web novel? Web novel does not allow you to link any personal information. It censors the word Patreon. It is nuts just how much this company extorts from people and tries to steal it from you. I wrote an entire article about how much I just do not like them. And so while I do have a scattered number of books on there that have performed okay, and maybe if I did start posting my dungeon life on there, I probably would get a fairly decent following. I dislike them. I really do. And I don't want them to kind of have my stories on there, because they're the kind of company that'll try to claim ownership of said stories if they're on there. I really don't know what their licenses say per se, but I don't really trust them. The few stories I have on there, I put on there mostly because if I didn't put them on there myself, someone was going to steal them, because I've had several stories stolen and put on there by other people, and they will not remove them even if you report it a dozen times. So yeah, I'm not happy with them. Uploading the comic, yeah, that's an option too. That's going forward. I'm starting to do the original images, like the first comic is being redone, and then I'll try to do like one comic every batch, because I order them in batches of 5, and then I've built a couple extra because you can usually get a batch of 5 done once a month. So I have a couple extra chapters, but if I do 4, then I can do one extra one from the beginning, and when that's done, I'll happily. I don't know. My big thing is I think a lot of people are going to see the art of the first 40 some comics and then immediately become disinterested in the story, and I don't want to lose people. So I'd really like to have all of them done, but at the same time, it's really expensive and time consuming. Getting those 40 done will take probably a couple years and a couple $1,000. So I'm not sure about that. Anyway, that's back to web novels. I don't like web novels, but apparently Amazon has become interested in their monetary system, how they sell per chapter, and Amazon is setting up their own version of that to try to make money. And as much as I don't like it, I mean, I think it's kind of the whole microtransaction web novels. That's basically what it is. It's a system where you buy points, and then every chapter is locked, and you unlock them chapter by chapter by spending your points to get them. And that, I consider that insane, but it's apparently the direction web novels are going, and so I'm giving it a shot. But the reason you're seeing it, the reason I'm posting it here, is exactly because I don't want to people to feel forced to pay per chapter like that. I think it's ridiculous. $2, you get all the chapters. I just have it. I have to lock them. I cannot put them out for free. If I tried, I could not put them on Amazon Vella. One of the rules is you cannot distribute it for free, and they will search it and they will lock me. They won't allow me to put it out. So, yeah. But I'm giving it a shot. I'm gonna put it out there and see. There are a lot of people who buy my ebooks who have never once come to my site or know about it, or even if they didn't know about it, would care about it. The person in the chat who mentioned they came from Amazon, you're actually the first guy I've seen that The second person I've seen that's come from through Amazon. Most of the people come, like I said, through Machine Slice Bread or Scribble Hub. A lesser amount through Royal Road, because I don't have as much on Royal Road, and my novels aren't as high up on Royal Road. Putting them out in public actually has a lot of setbacks, because they get hit pretty badly. They're negative reviews. There are a lot of people who hate my stuff. It's almost comical how much my novels do poorly when I go to other websites or public, and they do great on Amazon. So when you pay money, when you're willing to pay money for it, they're 4.5, 5 stars. It's only when people get it for free that they start hitting it so poorly. Anyway, let's go to the surveys. Members, I got 250 back. I have probably close to 1,500 members. I really don't know. I know how many Patreon I have. It's about 1,000. I don't know how many FFA I had. That's why I said I kind of still like Patreon better, because I know exactly what those numbers. I can get the numbers. It would just require a lot of work, and I'm haven't done that yet. The non-member ones are like 69. Har har. I did do the surveys a lot more different this time. I tried to make sure I didn't ask questions that I didn't think I could get good answers from the non-members. Because in the past I would almost ask the same questions, but half the stuff they couldn't even read. So why would they mark it? These guys can't read Getting Lucky because they're not members. Now there might be a few that were members and then quit, which is another thing entirely. In fact, it says right here 25% of the people who took the survey used to be members at one point and then just aren't anymore. So there's a substantial amount like that, but still I changed the questions accordingly. I also had different branches. I used to do these surveys on Responster, and Responster would limit you really badly, and you had to pay, and the pay was I forget, it was like $60 a month just for the right to make surveys and have them have information. It was really, really stupid. So I found out about Google Forms. Someone mentioned it to me, and it works great. I love Google Forms. You can write these if and or statements, so I can have entire branching paths for people based on their answers, and I did that a few times. So some of you, so what I'm saying is, if you've taken this before and you see a question you didn't get, it's possibly because you put an answer that didn't fit with the path. I tried to make it more informative to me. For example, I asked a question about My Dungeon Life, and I didn't want any answers from people who felt My Dungeon Life was their favorite novel. So I had a path that basically, if you picked My Dungeon Life as your favorite novel, you skipped that question and went to the next one. So I did that, things like that a few times. So might be interesting, might not be. Most people, once again, I was saying, most of them are Patreon. That is seemingly the truth. My Patreon's been dropping. Hopefully FFA's been rising. I won't know for 6 months. I know I'm about $1,000 less than this month in what I bring home. And I know I don't want to talk about too much, because I'm sure there's a lot of you who make a lot less than I'm currently making. And I don't want to make you feel bad or feel ungrateful. I am extremely grateful for everything you guys have done for me. My life is really turned around because of this. I mean, I was dying in debt. There was points where I had to give blood. I couldn't do anything for my kids. And I'm finally at a point where I put money away. I have a large savings account. I've started putting money away for my kids for college, which I had not been able to do for years, and it's always regretted it. So, yeah, For those of you who aren't from America, it gets pretty expensive for college. We have to put away just tons and tons of money. So I finally started putting money away for them, and yeah, it's really changed things a lot. We're out of credit card debt finally, and now we're saving for a home. We want to buy a place out with some property. I'd like to have my own little office that I can work on, that I can work in, and then some land where we want to do some growing some stuff and things like that. So we're saving up for that right now. Apparently, because of the nature of my job, because I just created Whatsawhizzer Web Novels is now an LLC. It's a limited corporation out of Ohio. It used to not be. So I set it up at the beginning of this year. I set up a business account. So now I'm officially a business. Because of that, my work history claims I've only had a job since January. So I have no work history with my current job. Even though I've had Patreon, even though I've been bringing in money for 2 years, apparently none of that matters. So I have to consistently bring in an income for the next 24 months for 2 years before loan places will start taking me seriously. That's a little tidbit of information there. All right, how do you feel about the quality of this membership? So there's an option of picking other, and I hate giving you guys other because then I get this. I get a bunch of people who just have to. I mean, no offense if you've done it, but it's just you got people who just have to write their own thing and just can't pick one of the options, and so I end up with just dozens of options, even options like it's a problem, and I wouldn't. I mean, that's one of the originals, and so anyway, this is Patreon. So if you picked Patreon, you would have been brought here, and you would just basically been asked, how do you feel about the quality of the membership, and how do you use this method as opposed to why do you use this method as opposed to FFA? A lot of people were saying it's glitchy. Like 6.5% here were saying it's glitchy. 3 more were saying it gives them trouble. It's a problem, and I wouldn't use it. Is even got one, I think one of them, but yeah, the point being, at least subtracting these 5, there were at least 10% of people who were having some kind of issues with it. Most of them are saying it's fine now. I don't know why you have to write it works fine, but then not selected source fine. But anyway, that's why I don't like using these. I don't like using the other option. In the future, I might choose to use it less because it's just I can't. That doesn't help me. 50 little giving your exact opinion about everything. I don't need that kind of specificity. Why do you use this method as opposed to FFA? I donate to others on Patreon, so it's convenient. That's exactly why I keep Patreon. Because that's a big issue for a lot of people. I didn't know about FFA. I know it's kind of douchey of me to expect people that just want to come in, they just want to read the work, they want to pay the buck, and they want to see everything, to be reading my newsletters or even my welcome notes or any of the other things I write. But it does get kind of frustrating when you get 3 or 4 messages a week from people when it's just clear they just haven't read, They just haven't looked at anything. It's like I have a Q&A, I have a troubleshoot. You'll sit there and read, 100,000 words of my writing, but in a book. But when you need to figure out how does it work, it's just they don't do it. So, I don't know. I don't know how you didn't know there wasn't an FFA. Now you all should know because that's literally how you sign in. Is you're signing in with FFA. There's no Patreon link anymore. It's gone. You sign in, you get a month, you buy a month, the month lasts, and then you renew it before the end of the month. Someone went up to me, it was kind of funny, they went up to me and were being like, oh, this can be exploited. They could create other accounts, and then they could get more books, more free books. And I'm like, yeah, but they could have done that before. I mean, if you're really desperate, you could probably eke out 2 months out of my 1 month of membership, if that was something you really needed or really wanted. But I think for the most part, it's pretty sound. I mean, there's going to be somebody somewhere who's going to create 15 accounts and try to strip my library. But that happened anyway with the coupon codes. Because if you could get that coupon code, you could just write any email you wanted and then strip my site. And it happened a few times. When I did, I occasionally tried to track the person down, find out who it was, and then ban them. It didn't always work out. As in, I wasn't always able to find it. I do get their IPs, so I can ban the IPs. So I have banned a few IPs, but then again, a VPN would be able to resolve that. So I don't know. If someone wants to steal, they can steal. For the most part, I'm not looking to I'm not like some business, you thieves. Is like, for the most part, my model's always been giving out as much free content as I can, and then the people who donate to me are the people who want to see more and want to continue. I know my membership only has seemingly grown as a list much bigger than my free novels, but part of that, like I said, is like, this has to be locked. If it's not locked, then I don't. Part of the reason, like some of these, they're not picked up, and so if they were picked up as releasing novels, then I probably would start releasing public chapters. It's just at the moment they're not. These short stories, they will stay locked. I like these short stories just as they are. So the only two here that are really releasing chapters that are locked would be Getting Lucky, and It's Not Easy Making Money in the Apocalypse. And I will probably make It's Not Easy Making Money in the Apocalypse a releasing chapter eventually. It already had the first volume released for public, and I'll probably release future volumes. I just wanted to build up more before I did that. But there's really no reason for it to be a membership-only novel. Probably will switch over to a releasing novel. For those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, I have free novels, releasing novels, membership-only novels. Yeah, literally, if you don't know what that means, you click on it, and it explains it. Yeah, I'm sure some people never clicked. And you're like, yeah, I got everything explained right here. I really try to make it simple. It's just, these are novels that are all free, except for possible bonus content. These are releasing novels, so these release as a locked novel, but eventually the free novels are kind of releasing after. And these are novels that I don't intend to make free ever. Like I said, the easy doesn't quite fit. And the rest of these I reincarnated in Automatic Girlfriend. If they were picked up as novels on a schedule, probably would become releasing novels. But for the moment, they're just locked. And then they're saying, well, why is this different? It's just a different way of sorting it. So this just is free, partially free, not free, versus releasing to public, which that needs to change. I think I finished one of these. Did I finish? No, these are all releasing still. Sponsorship chapters, finished novels, and the ones I'm currently not releasing, but are kind of on a hiatus. Actually, this needs to be moved. I'm not great at updating this. There's so many things to manage. You guys gotta understand, I'm just the one guy, and there's so many stuff like people get on my butt about, a table of contents not being perfectly right. I'm like, come on, guys, it's not. I have to do everything by hand, and there might be a way to build the website that will automate a lot of this stuff, so it doesn't like the table of contents. There's ways that it can be automatically generated, like it is on Scribble Hub or Royal Road. I would have to completely rebuild my website to get it to look like that, and I've actually looked into it. Zevinin, the tech guy, has actually started building a theme that's supposed to do it, but I'm not holding my breath on if that's ever going to get done. Certainly not in the next 6 months, because he's got his current job. So I'm just making do with what I can. I have limited technical knowledge here. I can run a WordPress. I can play around with HTML code a little bit, but most of this I'm just playing it by ear and just trying to keep it working. Anyway, if you marked for full frontal access, you'd come here, and as you can see, the it gives me trouble was much smaller. So you got your 83% versus 93%. This is what ultimately decided I needed to switch to this coupon method. You guys all need to be on FFA. You're not experiencing errors on FFA. It'll be better for everyone. And I know it's a cheat method that means you have to copy and paste a code, but you don't have to copy and paste your money vouchers anymore for your shop. So I'd say that's an improvement, because here you would have to paste a code here, but now you don't have to do that. And here now you just have to do that one code once a month, but you can do it at any point before you expire, or even after you expire. If you really wanted to, you could join for a month, wait for it to expire, and then at the very end of the month, go another month where you're not doing anything, and then at the very end of the month, use that code to get another month, and you would have an extra month. You could take a little break there. I don't know why you'd want to do that. I'm just saying it's still there. If you're still seeing errors, let me know. Send me a message. I don't know what errors you're seeing unless you tell me, and I've asked people to send them. So if you're on FFA and you're seeing an error, I need you to know what they are. Am I Jewish? I assume that's directed to me. No, I am not. I am Lutheran, or actually non-denominational, if I'm really being technical. I grew up Lutheran, but I'm more non-denominational now. Okay, why did you stop being a member? I wasn't reading a note. This is kind of just a paper cutter. Wanted to wait. I think that's perfectly fine. You want to quit and then wait for more chapters to build up. I know some people who quit and then join, once every 3 months. I don't prefer that for obvious reasons. It causes a lot of glitches, like Stripe and PayPal aren't great for people who are just constantly quitting and rejoining. That's when you get a lot of these errors popping up. But it gets stuck on pending or whatever, and you don't end up not paying. But if you wanna, go for it. Oh, it costs too much for what I got. I found this one funny. I had someone up here. Not to poke fun at people. Oops, I was even in the wrong one. Not to poke fun at people, but when I was asking about full frontal access, someone wrote, a bang for the buck feels weak. I thought I was getting monthly vouchers, but I only got 2. So this person was in a $5 membership probably, and they thought they would get every voucher I've released in the last 2 years. They thought they'd get $24 or 24 vouchers of $5 each. I sorry, that's not. And the people who are going on about, hey, I should get. I've had that for other people too. They don't like my expiration date. I've heard that complaint before. Like, oh, I thought I was getting every voucher for every book since I've joined, and I was saving them up. And I'm like, no, I'm not gonna leave those running 24/7. So. Or, for over a month. Yeah, this is not going to happen. Sorry. That's... what level of Patreon are you? Most are chronic masturbate. I figured as much. I would like to try to slowly eke more people into the Power Fapper, which is why I introduced all these new things. Maybe you've already moved to it. If you want to know why I want more at this tier, other than just wanting, to be continually growing rather than shrinking, Tim Pool from Timcast, he he released his website recently, and he only asked for $10. He doesn't even offer a $5 or $2 tier. And I'm like, I'll aim for $10 is what memberships are. We live in a society that's inflating currency. $10 is last year's $5. Well, no, I'm not taking information away from anybody. I'm not cutting anything off. I'm just adding more, and I know that pisses people off sometimes. I still, when I'm just giving you more and charging more to give more, and then people get angry. I don't know, but I'll try to do my best and continue to create incentives that'll drive people to getting it. Vela is great. Both my sons use Vela. Is Vela out yet? Because to my understanding, Amazon Vela is not live. They're still in the beta stage, so you can put the chapters up, but they're not actually available. Like you can't. No one's giving credit yet. I'm not earning any money, as far as I know. If they are live, then I might need to do something. Because I haven't released the new chapters. I actually need to edit those chapters, and they're very pain in the butt with how they edit it. It's whenever you release an edit, they recheck it, which means if they were going to block you because of whatever, they feel like you had a free version of it up already, they will do it again. So even though I just edited a single word, it used to was available. Oh, I don't know. All right. What potential benefits would tempt you to donate to the $10 tier? I was interested in that, and I asked that specifically for $5. So only if you were $5 did I ask it. If you're 10 or higher, you're already willing to be in that tier, so it didn't really matter to me. So the two things that were the highest were an extra chapter, which is why I did the lottery thing, because that got voted high, and 2 ebooks a month. I did not give you 2 ebooks a month at the $10 tier, because at that point I feel like you're literally just buying 2 books a month. But I did do it at the reverse stage tier. I mean, remember, by the time you're at a hand solo, you get all the books for free. If anyone donated as a hand solo, you could literally download every single book. But so it made sense to me at that reverse stage tier you can get 2 books. Heck, I would even consider Onani File, give them 3 books, but I don't know. That's too many coupons. I don't want to have to deal with that many. Once again, like I said, all these answers here. I mean, if you're picking other, you're basically throwing your vote away because there's very little I can grasp from a lot of this, and most of these you could have picked one of the others. I mean, I do look at them, but new stories and early chapters or 10 would push me away from getting a membership. Yeah, I decided not to do that per se, but the way I do it's still probably going to push some people away. I don't know, just because some people, like, when you have FOMO, that fear of missing out, for some people it's just like, I would rather not have anything than only have some of it. So while they'll happily get everything on my site for X amount of money, they won't be as happy to get, only, a 5, just most of the chapters, but you're missing one or whatever. I think given time that I'll be able to, I'll get that sorted out. But I'm basically $10 is gonna slowly become the new $5 tier, and $5 is gonna build a little bit and be a little bit more. But that's but I don't want to do it in a way where I'm taking things away from the previous 2 tiers, and I don't want to do it in a way where I'm overworking myself or killing myself to do it. So the pull system is what I'm doing right now, and I think it'll work out, and hopefully people have fun with it. Just being able to have a little bit of choice in what you see next. If I added $2 announcements, how would you want them? These are the $2 questions. How do you feel about the $5 to $2 chapter unlock? Most people it doesn't bother. Some people it bothers them a little bit. I started doing announcements, but the only way I could do it was it's very difficult to do it while factoring in membership. I'll probably need to create a plugin or have somebody create a plugin for me to be able to do that. The way I was doing it for the short period of time I was doing it was literally just copying and pasting the links, and it just became way too much of a pain in the butt, so I removed it until I can get the system. Part of what I worry about is so let's say I have like smart posts or recent posts, that it's a widget. It's basically a widget. You can download a plugin for WordPress. I put it down in that footer. So what I'm talking about is we'll just go to home. I'm talking about these recent posts here. I had $2 posts right here. So the problem with that is, let's say I could build a smart recent post that only posts people who are in the $2 tier. So basically, whenever something opens up for the $2 tier, it'll appear here, but not for free and not for $5. The problem with that is that it will always sort it by the date the post was released. So if I have chapters that I release, say I have 2 posts. One post I put out on last month, and the other post I put out last year. Let's say just for whatever reason I started dropping chapters from $5 to $2, and then last year, and then I did them both at the same time. So it would always be the case, not when I switched from $5 to $2, that's not what would show up in recent posts. It would be whichever one had the most recent release date. So no matter what I do, some chapters might never appear on there based on how long it took me to switch them down to the $2 tier. Does that make sense? Basically, I have it'll have a list of the top 10 chapters that are most recently released at the $2 tier, but it'll be based on when they were originally released, regardless of what cost I released them at. So there will be some where I'll switch from $5 to $2, and if I have 10 other posts that were sooner, it will never show up. Won't show up on the list. And I don't know how to fix that. That's not something I could resolve. So, yeah. I don't, I could change the date. That actually would be possible. The problem with changing the date is then it's going to show up on recent posts too. So if let's just say the time I switch it from $5 to $2, it's going to, what do you call it? There might be a way to do it. I'm just thinking this out. If I use tags or categories, I could probably do it. I could create a $2 category, and I could set up recent posts to ignore $2 categories. And then I could set up the $2 posts, but have it only do those categories. And then when I go from 5 to 2, I could add the tag, and that way it would always pop up. If that makes any sense. No, I'm just brainstorming out there like alive here. I think that would work. I'll have to look into it. That might be, but I would have to add a category for $2, or I'd have to add a tag, like a $2 tag. I don't like tagging because apparently, and I only found this out very recently, when you add tags, it adds a kind of sorting at the bottom of chapters. that allows you to click next, and I don't want that to appear there because that's just going to confuse people who are trying to click to the next post. Because for some reason, the way WordPress works, or the way this theme works, is that it unites all of the tags. So when you click on a post with a certain tag, it'll say go to the next post or the previous post that had the same tag, which would be a great and easy way to not have to copy and paste my links, because I have to manually put those previous next links into every post. But it also would mean that if I forgot the tag, or if I use something else with the same tag, that it would also pop up and be in the way, and that I would basically have to rebuild my entire site around that, and that's the issue with tags. That's why I don't have tags. I wanted tags. I was trying to find someone to do the tagging for me, because I wanted all my posts to have tags, because that's what metadata that'll help with search engines and search engine optimization. But when I realized that that's how it gets used, I deleted the tags instead of keeping them. A little bit more trivia. Yeah, this is all just stuff I have to deal with as I'm going through. So the other thing, and I know this has been a problem, is how do you feel about the quality of $5, $2 changes? It hasn't been great. A lot of people just don't tell me. When I get an email, I will immediately try to change the tier of the post. It might take 24 hours if I'm like in bed or something, but I will try to get the post quickly fixed. And sometimes people just won't tell me, and it'll sit like that for months. And then someone will go, "Oh, did you know chapter 12 was locked at the $5 tier?" I'm like, "No." And then like, "Oh, someone left you a comment." You left a comment in the Discus. I don't see the comments. I don't see every comment that goes on my site. If I did, I'd probably go crazy. I have, 2,000 posts. How many comments would I be getting, every day if I saw it? The only comments I see is if you specifically reply to my own post, something I've made. And some people have done that, and I still would say don't do it that way. Just DM me in Discord or send me an email, something a little more permanent than commenting at the bottom of the chapter, because I never see those. What I'm doing to resolve this issue, I am working on it. There is a plugin that does it for Restricted Content Pro. In fact, half the reason I got Restricted Content Pro was because there was a plugin that does it. There's a problem with that plugin, though. There's actually two problems with that plugin. The first problem with that plugin is that the change only works, how do I say it? It only works at the exact, by the time. You basically put how many days your thing is going to... So the way it works is I have my locks, I have each of my tiers, and I have to manually select each tier. And that'll say, people at that tier will have access to this content. And I can put a delay on that. So I still have to pick the $2 tier, but then I'll put something like, this will be delayed 7 days. So in 7 days it'll be unlocked, and then you can access it. So that's how the plugin works. The problem with that is, first off, it's not based on when you release the post. It's based on when you create the post. I don't understand why, and you can't set the timer. So in other words, no matter when I create that post, it'll open in 7 days from then. So I can't have it set up to exactly 9 o'clock if I, for my schedule, if I wanted to. If I created it a day before, then I would have to add a day to the delay. If I'm making sense there. Yeah, it's a really convoluted system. There's actually another system that works that will make it free after a certain amount of time. And that one you can select the exact date and the exact time. So I don't know why this plugin doesn't work that way. The other issue with it, and the main reason I don't do it, is because technically the metadata still reads it as a $2 chapter. So I've tried to use it a few times, and maybe you've caught it, where when you click on it and it's locked, so you go here and you click on the post, and you get the splash screen, and it'll say you're just the tip, but you're not able to see it. You're logged in, everything's working properly. It's reading it as $2, but it's supposed to be $5 tier, because the way the plugin works, it's delaying it by a week. But the metadata still reads it as that. So you're supposed to be locked out of it, but it doesn't read it as being locked out of it. Now, one of the things I've done here is I've rewritten how this works, where I don't tell you what tier you're supposed to be at. I would like to be able to tell you what tier you're supposed to be at, but if I wanted to use that plugin, then I would need to not do that. Yeah. So yeah, it's really just annoying. It's if you don't understand it, that's fine. It's a mess how this plugin works. And so what I've tried to do is I've tried to hire someone to build a new plugin that resolves these issues. And I've hired 2 people so far that were supposed to fix it, and it never, they ended up getting canceled, and they got my money back, and it just hasn't worked. And this new guy, the one that keeps crashing my website, that was supposed to help facilitate it, he's supposedly working on it, and it's supposed to work, and he's supposed to give me a better plugin. Basically, I wanted a blend of that one that makes this thing free, and the one that allows you to select which tier is whatever locked for how long, because I want to be able to put a date in there and a time that it specifically unlocks, rather than an arbitrary, it'll unlock sometime in one day, and I want it so when it gets announced, it doesn't read as just the tip. Because if I did it that way, then everything would read as just the tip. Every chapter would be marked as just the tip, and that would mean I never know when something's at the $5 tier, or the $10 tier when that starts. Hope that made sense. Didn't confuse anybody. It's just, I'm working on it. I've been working on it for nearly a year. I'm still working on it. Like I said, there is the plugin with the switch I made in into January, February, to the RCP, to the Restricted Content Pro, that will resolve this. But I'm trying to get a plugin that'll do it better than the way it's working right now, and that's what I'm up to. Why are you a member? It's pretty cookie cutter. I basically know most people are a member to unlock the chapters or to do that. So I just like to include those questions because I think they're important. If you wrote that you don't like images, I had you skip the image questions. I just didn't feel like we needed that. So only if you liked images did you see these. If you don't like images, you don't have to look at them. It doesn't affect me at all. That's kind of my attitude at this point. What kind of images are people interested in? Since most people are interested in the portraits. With Getting Lucky, I started releasing portraits. He is working on the next batch. I've seen the sketches for them, and they're looking pretty good. So when those are done, that might be another month. He was supposed to have them done last month, but he's delaying, or he said he got sick for a couple weeks. Whatever. He does a very good job with the art, and at the speed he's going, I really don't have any complaints. So because some people, most of my illustrators, I only get one picture a month, and he was able to put out 6 in a month. So, or 6 in a month and a half. So that's nearly 1 a week. I don't have any complaints about that. Erotic, more people are interested in erotic scenes. Environments was kind of like when I did Amaryllis. That's World of Women. I did their city. I did not like how that picture turned out, to be honest. But I was interested in people wanted more of these. Uh, I should have put maps. I should have put maps. That was my mistake. This guy wrote it in as another. I should have had that as one of the options. Maybe I would have gotten more picks and had something informative about maps. I've done exactly one map for my dungeon life. But the problem with doing the map is I don't have the entire story in my head. So I don't know where the future locations are. And if I just randomly created a bunch of locations, then I'd be pigeonholing myself into the story where I'd have to continue in a certain direction in a certain way. And I couldn't change things. So that's why I was really hesitant about... I haven't really displayed the map because there's not very much in it. And I wanted a map where I could continue to add stuff to it, and I don't really feel I got that. So even though I do have a map for my I'm talking about my dungeon life, by the way. I do have a map for my dungeon life. I'm just not very satisfied with it. And if I could get a map for, say, Enslaved or one of the other books, I'm just it's just kind of difficult because, like I said, I don't have, necessarily every aspect of the world kind of... Yeah, I could make a map of just Aberystwyth or something like that, but it's still a thing. You could add effect for part of the map. Yeah, I could wash it out. Well, the whole point was to get it finished, and like I said, I was hoping to be able to add to it, but what he ended up doing is... A lot of these people who say they'll draw a nice map for you, what they actually do is they use a program like a map generator, and you can really only add to the map if you happen to have that same map generator. So yeah, that's my problem. Technical stuff, I meant like cars, guns, especially for something like Apocalypse. You can get kind of these tech images, or even World of Women. I mean, there's a lot of technology there that people probably want to see what it looks like. I think ultimately, though, those didn't score very high. I think it's clear most people only care about portraits and maybe erotica. I'm actually surprised erotica didn't score as high as portraits, but it's good that I'm putting more into portraits right now than I am into erotica, I guess. What stories? My dungeon life, it's already getting as many pictures as I can handle. For it gets the most pictures of any of them, so there's really nothing to complain about there. Getting Lucky is also, like I said, it's getting portraits across the board. Enslaved, I will be working on Enslaved next. That is this survey has convinced me to do Enslaved next. So once the guy finishes with all the Getting Lucky portraits, I'm going to send him on Enslaved. I'm going to try to get him to do that. I also am going to be trying to get Ibube, the one who does my Dungeon Life pictures. I want him to make the new covers for my Enslaved covers. He's the one who does all the my Dungeon Life covers, and I like. I mean, he's probably my best artist, generally speaking. But he can only do about one picture a month, so my output isn't that high. Right now, I have him working on a specific project I want it done, and after that's done, I'm probably going to have him work on Enslaved. I've not been very happy with the covers I've gotten for Enslaved. The guy who does them, great illustrator. It's a hit and a miss with him. Some of my favorite images were made by him, but like I said, it's a hit and a miss. He's the one he didn't do the first volume, but he did the second volume and the third volume, and those just... He actually did do the first volume. I paid him to do the first volume so that they were all done by the same illustrator, and I didn't like that one either. I just, for whatever reason, the way he does the Enslaved covers, I just don't like him. So I am going to have those done by my top artist, and the guy who has been doing all my portraits, if he's still around. By the time he hasn't crapped out on me when I finish Getting Lucky, I'm going to send them to do all the enslaved girls too as portraits. So that's coming for anyone who's excited about that. I didn't put Reincarnated and Demon Lord here, so I see a lot of people wrote it. Incest on an Island. You know, I forgot that was a thing until people mentioned it in the survey. I had written it and I just never did anything with it. Oh yeah, the pirate cover, that is one of my favorite covers. And that's actually how I want the other covers to be done. I want two people with a background. So I'm going to be paying more for these covers than I am for the MDL because I want them to be more full covers, the enslaved ones. So yeah, I'm totally going to do an upgrade on the enslaved covers. Kind of excited about that. My calendar, by the way. I'll give you guys a special treat because I don't think... no one's seen this, but I'll show you guys this. Just for everyone who's watching. This is behind the scenes content. No one's seen it. So I do have another illustrator who's about as good as Ibube, in my opinion. They don't have as unique of a style. They're a little more typical. But I've been having them draw Wachan, my mascot girl, just over and over again. He's been drawing them for doing a calendar. So I'm going to be releasing a 2022 calendar, and it's going to be a calendar girl. So I'm going to show you guys some of the images. Some of them you might have seen, but so there's this one. This is January's. Where we got February. Some of them I've already put out and shown people, but some of them I've never shown anybody. Here's February's. Here's March. Here's St. Patrick's Day. April, I actually don't like the one I did for April, so I'm having her redo that one. That's the last one that she hasn't finished. This was the original one. Har, April showers. Oh gosh, I wonder if that is too erotic that it might upset the censors for YouTube. I don't think I'm big enough anyone's gonna notice. You guys didn't see that. Wasn't there at all. There weren't no nipplies. Nothing happened. What else we got? Here's August. We got, this one is May. No nipplies. It's fine. Nothing naughty there. Here's September, going back to school. What else we got? This one's June. That's her being hot and reading. She's at home. Break. What else we got? This one I think a lot of you have seen. This is the No Nut November. She failed it. Here's July. There's her playing with fireworks. Yeah, I know half of you are international and don't have anything, but darn it, I'm from America. This is July 4th, Independence Day. Watch hands celebrating. There's Christmas. And did I forget any? I don't know. Oh, here's the list I was using. I think I got them all for you. Yep, there. That's coming out as a calendar. As soon as I'm able to. They seem to only have 2021 so far, so I'm not sure. What about November? Oh yeah, she failed. Yeah. So yeah, that's what I've had someone doing. I I can't believe she's only on volume 1 of MDL. She's not. That's not Lydia. Lydia's a different girl. Wachan has white hair. This is Wachan. And she doesn't have a book. She's purely my mascot, which APFSDS has kept telling me that I need to write her into something to give her a backstory so that people can more relate with her, because right now she's just a photo girl. And I've considered it. I'm not sure what I want to write though. I've written a few short stories with her, usually joke stories. I wrote a Halloween story with her that you can see on my one-shots, which was just pure a joke. And that my dungeon life's a tiger, so volume 1, that's this girl. Totally different girl. They don't even look anything like. There you go. Anyway. Oh, volume 1, yeah. Oh, I got what you mean. Yeah, the book she's holding is volume 1. Who knows? If you notice on No Nut, she's blocked out of my site, so she's not even in it. Now that I don't know why the illustrator decided to go with that image. I mean, I assumed he would go with the home page, but he decided to go with the locked out content image, which I don't even use anymore, so maybe I should have it changed. I bet I can have my Photoshop guy fix that and swap it out with the real image. Because that's not even the splash screen where I created a new one. I created this one. I don't know how to make this easier. If you guys got any suggestions on how to make this easier, this is what you see when you're locked out. It's just like you log in. If you're logged in, you need to register. If you've already registered and paid, then you need to contact me. I mean, I don't know how else to make those. I mean, I have an entire instruction, including a video, but I still have people who don't seem to follow. You know, I don't know. I try to make it as clear as possible. I don't know. Back to the survey, I guess. A little aside, yeah, that calendar's coming out eventually. What story do you want the images for most? It seemed like the winner, once again, My Dungeon Life, which I'm already putting as much money into it as possible. I actually do have the pictures for Volume 9 out, I just haven't released them yet. So those erotica are done, and I'm going to be hiring the same guy for Volume 10. I feel like the Getting Lucky illustrator who's doing my portraits is a slightly better illustrator, but I'm constantly producing so much art that I don't want to be held up waiting on him, because at some point I want to put the erotica into each book, and it'd be nice if I was caught up. So that I didn't have to keep re-releasing books just to have the erotica. Speaking of which, that should have been a question I asked. Do you want the erotica in the book? Because I've always wondered, because a lot of people, when you have an EPUB, you don't really want, the erotica in it, because it's kind of like, I mean, there's a time and a place where you want to, sometimes you just want a book to read, and you don't want it to look naughty. And honestly, Amazon, I can't have the images in there. It denies them. So when I release it on Amazon or Smashwords, there's no pictures in it anyway. So I'm just very curious with the books on my site, which are the only ones with the pictures in them, if you guys want them. You can still see them on the site. I have links for them, and they're in my galleries. So I should have asked that on the survey. I didn't ask it. But it's something I'm interested in knowing. What's going on with that? If you guys are interested in having those images in the My Dungeon Life ebooks or not. For Power of Creation, it was that kind of book, and I had the pictures in during the scenes they were happening in, which was kind of a pain because the images didn't always turn out like exactly canon to the scene. So you'd be reading a scene about her being in missionary, and then you get a picture of her in doggy, and people will be like, "It doesn't match," and I'm like, "Does it really matter?" But I don't know. Power of Creation isn't even the main book. It's one of my finished books, but I think most people, I forget I've written it. It was so long ago. It's been stuck in the past. I started rewriting it to put out a version on Scribble Hub, and I got about halfway through, and then I quit. Basically, I got to a point where I had made so many changes to the story that I couldn't keep it straight anymore, and it just became too difficult to continue. I was trying to smooth out a lot of the mistakes that I made when I was originally writing it, so that I didn't have to make so many changes. But it turned out to be more difficult than I'd hoped, and I kind of flopped that. And I'm kind of I was converting it to first person point of view, and I'm debating going back and fixing it, but right now not a good time. All right, once you got through images, the story elements were the next questions. What elements of my story do you like the most? The erotica in the story. Well, there you go. End of story here. Yeah, I think that's about expected. You read a story for the story, kind of self-explanatory there. And then the erotica is read an erotica story for the erotica. I actually was thinking it might be a little more balanced. But anyone who's like, you need to stop writing erotica and you should just concentrate on the story, or you need to concentrate on the story, or you need to do more erotica, you can see how balanced it is. It's not like one trumps the other. One element do you need to spend more time on? That one. That's interesting. So I didn't know this. At the time it was more balanced, but it looks like people are feeling I need to write more erotica. That's actually new to me. I didn't realize that was winning so much. I mean, yeah, I don't know how I can spend more time on the story per se, other than to write less erotica. But the fact that more people seem to want more erotica, I have been writing less and less erotica, and there's some stories flat out. I mean, sorry, my dungeon life is never going to have more than one scene a volume. That's the standard for it. It's what it's going to be. But other stories, I mean, I can write more erotica-based stories in the future. I mean, Apocalypse doesn't have any erotica at all. I wasn't intended to be an erotica. So, I don't know. I part of it is just, there's only so many times you can write erotic scenes before your creativity gets a little blah. And part of the reason is just the trouble I was getting into. People kept knocking out my financial support because erotica is bad. I mean, I don't know how porn studios make money, considering how much people seem to keep trying to stop me. Anyway, what erotica elements from my stories do you like? So that was getting more into since erotica seems to be that's nothing. That's not erotica. Oh, I'm dumb. Isn't that the same? That looks like the same color. Okay, I should spend time on nothing. That's actually preferable. Wow. Yeah, I'm sorry. That's the color for nothing. Okay, erotica's down here. It's only 10.6. Story is what people think I should spend the most time on. Alright, that makes more sense. Wow, I was just going on and on about that, wasn't I? Alright, that's the beauty of Steam. Or streaming. You get to see all the dumb mistakes. Alright. Story, focusing more on it. Yeah. I don't know. And then what's the other one? Romance. I think I understand what you guys mean, because I do introduce a lot of characters that just kind of, now they're having sex. I think the biggest problem with a lot of my novels, and I think most people here will agree, and by the questions I made, I think you'd also understand it, would be when you're looking at that I have so many characters in the harems, 10 plus, that you don't really have a lot of time to spend with any one girl. I'm trying to fix that with Automatic Girlfriend. That one, specifically very focused on the one sex doll. There will be other girls, whether you want to call them harem or not. I won't. I'm limiting it at like 4 or 5. So already anyone who's following along with that story, there's been introduced kind of 3 girls in his life, and I might introduce 2 more, and that'll be it. But they're not going to be sexual. He's just going to be with his girlfriend for the majority of that story. It's going to focus on their romance. So there's girls, and the girls might have, somewhat romantic events with him, but it won't be like he's banging all of them in threesomes or anything like that. A lot of stories that are already out, I don't know, because like with my dungeon life, a lot of people say that has too much, too big of a harem. That question's later on. When I get to that question, I'll talk about that. What erotic elements do people like? Harems. That's why I write harems a lot. Master slave. Animal girls. It's kind of funny, when I wrote Enslaved, I literally put out a survey just like this, and I asked this question, and that's how Enslaved came to be, because the original name for Enslaved was like Enslaved, Animal Girl, Sister, Harem with no NTR, and that was exactly it. I just took the top 5 things, people like incest, people like harems, people like animal girls, people like slaves, and that is how that story came to be. It was a joke. It was written as a joke, but then people were like, "Oh no, we love this! You got to keep writing it," and then it just continued. So that's 100% how that story. This is 100% why Enslaved exists. Right here is that that curve. Notori. A lot of people like I'm taking other men. I don't know. That's not quite as big or long. We're gonna call it. Should I write another one like this? I'm considering it. I'm always looking at new stories. I will be finishing the old ones though. I finished NTR Crush. That was great. Moth will be finishing somewhat soon. I'm still I'm on kind of the final arc for Moth, and I'm trying to consider how I want to end it. There's the traditional way, I can end Man of the House, but I've also considered some more exotic ways. So it's not set in stone yet, but we'll see. Is reincarnated into the hero's former body going to be a harem or just one girl, or is it just going to be... I think for the moment it's just funny romantic moments. I don't have any plan for him forming any relationships with them. I just... his temperament and stuff, I don't see it being much sexual. Alright, what erotic emotions do you feel there needs to be more of? Father-daughter. I have a daughter who's 8. I'm not a... that's probably why I don't write a lot of that. That is the right one, right? I'm not... No, I am misreading it. God, what is orange? Nothing. God, mother! I wanna just read the surveys and understand this stuff and be clear with you guys. Okay, so usually the biggest one seems to be the one that's a path of least resistance. Nothing. Alright. So it's not father-daughter. That's good to know. It's mother-son. There you go. Now we're getting somewhere. Vanilla and master-slave. So, mother-son. Maybe I should write my own version of it. So, when I first started out, some of you know me from Machine Sliced Bread, I actually did a co-write. So if you have read all my books and you desperately want to read one that I've had some influence on Machine Sliced Bread, there's Bonded Goddess. I was writing that as a co-write with God, what's his name? Something with an R. I don't even remember anymore. Ruki? I think it's Ruki. So Ruki and I kind of co-wrote that book story together, and I wrote some of the chapters for the first 10 or 20 chapters, and then we had a bad falling out, and yeah, he ended up basically he started cutting me out. Like he would write the next chapter in the story, and then he would try to get me to write the bonus chapter, the bonus content for him, but he wouldn't frame it that way. So he would kind of collect all the excitement of releasing first, and then kind of screw me over. And he was doing that a lot of times, and so I eventually just had enough of his shenanigans, where he was trying to cut me out of the money. But where was I getting with that? Oh yeah, he directed me to a web novel, a mother-son web novel that you might have read it. I don't remember the name, but it was like about an elf and a human queen, and they had like gone to war over him, and so he reincarnates in the body, and both of his moms are yandere, and I didn't like it. I didn't like the novel at all. It was very slow. It was very dumb. Did he quit? I don't know. I thought Rookie was still releasing chapters. I don't know if he's quit completely or not. But yeah, he did. He did kind of. By the way, the delay in my response is exactly how long it takes from when I say stuff to when you guys see it. It's just, that's what it is. Supposedly the novel eventually does become incest. So I've been told from him, because he was the big incest guy. He loved the incest. And he told me that eventually it got to that point. But it got to that point like after 5 volumes, and after 2.5 volumes I just couldn't read anymore. He made a good amount of money starting out. Like, he was up to $300 or $400, and if he had just stuck with me, he would have been rich. But he didn't like it. He didn't, or he got greedy, and he wanted his own slice, and then yeah, we just I split with him, because I was totally for. First off, I had the Patreon at that point, and I set it up so you had to be at a higher tier. So you had to spend more money to get access to Rookie's story, to get access to Bonded Goddess, than you would if you joined Rookie. And I even gave him like a 24-hour delay, so the chapter would come out 24 hours ahead of him. And that still wasn't enough for him. He still went behind my back, and screwed me. Like I said, the thing that kind of drew the line for me was that he was asking me to write a bonus chapter, and then while I was writing that bonus chapter, he started writing and publishing the main chapters, and he would publish them specifically on Patreon so that I couldn't see it, and I didn't see that he was publishing them. So he was trying to make it so he had all the stories out first, or all the chapters out first, so that by the time I got around to it, it was already too late. So he posts the raw, unedited stuff, and then once I fixed it up so it looked good in retrospect, that was when I could get my slice, and I just got fed up with that, and we had a falling out and stopped writing together. I did find out, and I don't know if the person who told me this was in the chat, but he had originally approached me because he was writing another story called something about Dragoon, like the Dragoon and Lure or something like that. And I thought, this was his big precious story, because he was like, this is a story I really want to write. It's important to me, blah, 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 blah. And I found out several months after I had my falling out with Rookie that story he had actually co-written and co-count with another author who he had a falling out with. So he had used that author. So this story I thought was this big story he really cared about was actually a story he had stolen from another author and then brought to me to try to fix. And then we started our new story, and then he ran off with that one too. I don't know if he tried to get a co-author after that with a third person with Bonded Goddess. I don't know. But yeah, the one thing good about him was that he was very good at writing sex scenes that were long and attractive to people. And to this day, I kind of regret that he that I couldn't still work with him, because I do have sex scene problems sometimes, and he was very good at making these long drawn out sex scenes that, I mean, he could write 3 6,000 word chapters along a single sex scene, and he could do 3,000 words or so that were purely. Sorry, give me a second. And he could write these just really long scenes that were just, make kissing someone sound like the most orgasmic experience in your life. Maybe it's because he was a virgin, Once you've had the experience, it's hard to make. No, that's mean. I don't know if that's true or not, but you never know. What do you think I would improve on to improve story? So, now, better grammar and spelling has always been something I constantly work on. Now, I always get comments like my grammar and spelling are getting worse as I go along, and that is not true. What people don't seem to understand is the stories I wrote first get the editing and get re-edited and then edited again and have more revisions than the chapter I just released last week. So, as I've said before, the early access chapters are not edited. They're raw chapters before an editor has come in and fixed it. By the time the $2 get it, it should have been edited. In theory, that's how it's supposed to work. Now, in practice, I really don't track how good my editor is in following me. I kind of just trust him. And he does occasionally, hey, I'm editing this chapter, and I say, oh, great. And he's been honest with me where if he's had a week or a month where he's just said, I haven't done anything, he'll come and tell me. He's like, I just haven't done a lot. Don't pay me this month. And so he didn't have to do that. I would never have known. But so I trust him. But whether he gets everything edited before early access goes to the $2 from the $5 to the $2, I don't know. It would be nice if he did, but I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't for every story, because there's just so many different stories. He probably does for a few of the stories, but for others he doesn't. So yeah, that was kind of the point of it. Yeah, most people don't realize early access is early access. I've gotten comments like, your $5 chapters don't have as much. But like I said, I can't even promise the $2 ones do. The only stuff I can promise has been edited, like 100%, are the ebooks. And that's not to say the chapters, because once I put them into a manuscript, the manuscript is what I put all my time in. So the ebooks have the best version of the stories. If I feel the editing was bad enough, I will copy the edited from the ebook and put it into the post and update it. I've done that for a few stories, especially for the first volume, because I want that to be what attracts people to read more. So I want it to be the most refined, which also probably gives people the impression that my writing's getting worse as they read along. But it is what it is. If I gave you the fully edited for everything, it would be a major pain in the butt to do. And yeah. So, but I've put out revisions, and so some things get as many as 2 or 3 revisions. I got a guy who's good at editing manuscripts, and he's been doing my manuscripts lately. So I feel like my new manuscripts coming out, like the 2 I just putting out, like volume 10 I just released, for my Dungeon Life. I think that'll be better. That's what I think. Anyway, all right. What is it? I am happy with the stories as they are. Like I said, Path of Least Resistance, most people are just happy with it and don't have any problem. Focus more on characterization. I think that comes down to the harem question, just having fewer characters so I can focus more on them. And better grammar and spelling. I would love to find an editor that was top-notch, that got everything edited. If I could find a guy of sufficient quality, I would pay a good amount. But the problem is most people aren't that great. They will say they're great. They will act like they're great. But anyone can pretend to be an editor, and actually being an editor of sufficient quality, where you're at the publisher level, like flawless, like that's hard to obtain. And even if I did obtain them if I'm forcing them to edit as fast as I'm writing, or even faster so they can go back and fix old stuff, you're talking 120, 130,000 words a month. Whether I can get that is very questionable. And when the most I could probably pay them is $10,000 a month or something like that would be probably the max, and that would be like a perfect editor, like top notch. The guy I currently have, I pay him per book, and he's pretty good. I've still caught him missing mistakes. I'll find the mistakes later that he missed. So even he's only so good, but he really cares about the editing, and he does a lot of background research, because there's a lot of questionable edits, and we've been kind of finding more and more that there's things where it's like a choice. So yeah, that's the whole thing. I don't know if my grammar and spelling is ever going to get better. I think even if I did go back and fix every single thing, every grammar mistake from previous chapters, the people who complained about it would still complain about it. Half the time, these people complaining about grammar, it probably isn't even a grammar problem. I don't know. It is what it is. More focus on sex. Okay, so that did get the 9.8%. There are some books that are focused on sex. There's some that aren't. Guy on a spaceship, tons of sex. Reincarnated demon lord, not sex. It's just, yeah. Every story isn't going to be an erotica. I'm glad most people are happy with it. What kind of content do you like? Going down to this. Harem, isekai, anime girls. That's why I write them. and to a lesser extent, slaves. And then RPG stats. So basically, yeah, there you go. That's why my site is basically, like, some people complain, like, you write harems all the time. I want just, like, 2 characters. And I'm like, I am a harem author. It's what I write. I write harems. I write isekai. In fact, I basically started out as an isekai. Like, I'm the leader on isekai for, original novels. That's kind of how I see myself. So yeah, I love Another World novels. They're my favorite. And I write them regularly, and that's why I do it. I'm never going to write, things from that far away. I like the OP. I like the Hero in Another World stories. I try to create my variations of them, but yeah, that's it. What kind of protagonist do you prefer? Now that's interesting. A realistic protagonist. An experienced, knowledgeable protagonist. That's kind of, so you want a really smart guy who's down to earth and not unbelievable. So if he's OP, then he's got to be OP in the sense that he's, I guess that's kind of, nobody likes an idiot. That's why they all hate Clyburn. I don't know. I try to write characters that are realistic, and I kind of get slapped for it because if he's realistic and he's not a super genius, you guys, I get a lot of gruff. I feel like my characters are realistic, that they try to make realistic decisions. That's kind of how I feel I write. But and like I said, you got all these guys writing for others. There's very little I can get out of this just because I wasn't looking for that level of clarity there. Do you prefer characters with no major importance? So the reason I put this in there is because I have a lot of instances where I would introduce characters and then I felt like, and this is going into the whole harem thing and the harem sizes and stuff. So like when I wrote My Dungeon Life, there are 5 girls in his harem. There is, the first 5 volumes you introduced, the 5 girls in his party, and that was the plan. Was it was going to be those 5 girls, and then everyone's like, oh, but Carmine, oh, but Celicia, you introduced them, and now I want more of them, and even now, with all the girls I introduced, I'm still getting comments that are like, oh, but Calypso, she needs to come back. She needs to be in it. And it's just like, so, I introduce a character who might be involved in a single volume, and then I get, this high push for them to be. I mean, there was that point in volume 2 where I had a girl, and all I said was, she's a hot wolf girl sorceress, and, people for, 3 volumes wouldn't leave me alone about this woman that she should have joined the harem, and she had to be, and that is the most important thing. And so that's how I get with these bloated harem stories. I'm not saying it's your guys' fault. I'm saying that, this constant pressure every time I introduce someone that, they have to, especially if it's a pretty woman, they have to become a bigger part of the story. So I wanted to know more about what I should do, should I name them and give them characterization? Because originally, when I wrote My Dungeon Life, it was my intent not to get a bloated harem like Power of Creation. It was supposed to, like I said, it was those 5 girls. Those 5 girls are his harem. Everyone else is just extended fluff, whatever you want to call it. Celicia and Carmine kind of got pushed into it. Eliana isn't really in his harem. She's more the wife, that stays at home while he plays with his harem. She's not part of that. And so people saying he's got a blood. He's got the 5 girls. That was my original plan. I was originally, when I was writing the first volume stuff, the mayor of Chalm and the guildmaster, neither of them have a name. I was trying not to name people specifically so you guys didn't get this kind of what was going on confused. It's like those 5 girls, they're what matter. And yeah, now I have Alicia and Ruby and Garnet and all these other girls, but the point of them, I mean, the point of the named girls wasn't so they were in his harem. It's so that they end up working in his city. Because the idea was eventually he'd all of them would be replaced. So if you kind of notice, the guildmaster, the unnamed male guildmaster, is getting replaced with Ruby. It's Ruby the Guildmaster, and that'll be who she is in Chalm. When Garnet is reintroduced into the story, she's the blacksmith. She'll be in the blacksmith shop, and that's her identity in the story. And yeah, they're attractive girls with backstories and beauties, but they're not. It wasn't intended for them to be part of they're part of the slaves. They're all slaves, but it wasn't intended for them to be like, oh yeah, these are all harem girls. Raisa, she kind of was just intended to be a one-off joke, and somehow got her into the place she was. I mean, she was literally just supposed to be a kind of a humorous, being seen from the outside kind of thing. But yeah, every girl is supposed to have kind of her own specific role in a city that they're supposed to fulfill. You know, there's going to be a blacksmith that, you know, can do all the really crazy blacksmith stuff. There's going to be we got our portal, our, you know, city. Although I haven't done much with her backstory yet, so I might do more with her at some point. And she's supposed to be the blue mage that handles the traveling guild. And then there might be... So yeah, that was that was kind of the point of all those characters. Like I said, the main five, the five in his party are the only five that were supposed to matter as being pure harem. But yeah, seriously, Racist has more sex scenes, and she's been drawn twice too. Because volume 9, the drawings I just got, those are more of Raisa. So she's had more sex drawings and more of the other stuff than anyone. So Raisa's story, where it's gonna go, is gonna be quite interesting. I won't spoil it, but yeah, she's gonna be gone for a while, and when she comes back into the story, it's gonna be kind of fun. It won't be till after she's had the baby. I'll give that much away. Which would you prefer? Her baby? Well, the princess is basically going to be ruling Ostrepublic, and that was kind of her direction. As far as the baby goes, the baby's going to be eventually born. But she's kind of a diplomat at this point. That was kind of going to be her role. Would you prefer my stories had less characters and more focus on a group, on a smaller group? Most are fine with no. The yeses are the blue and the thing. So that's really, you know, maybe I'm fretting too much about it. If there's only 13 plus 4, so 20%. There's only 1/5 of the people that have... I'm reading it backwards. It's these two groups that have they say have no opinion. So really, oh yeah, I was right in the first place. I was just reading it backwards. 20% seem to have a feeling that it's too much, but reduce women in the future. Oh, I guess 30%. Yeah, I'm bad at reading graphs. That's the problem with doing them live. It's this one and this one that would be the ones that might have an issue with it, that might ask for more. So that's about 40% almost. 35, I guess, if you want to be technical. So 1/3 of people want less waifus, and the rest either are fine or don't care. So maybe when it's only 1/3, I don't know how much I should go out of my way to try to fix it. This makes sense. This doesn't make sense. If you're not a harem person and you're in my stories, you're probably in the wrong place. Oh, pick the story you feel has too many waifus as to be detrimental. This was kind of my dungeon life. It got 22%. Getting lucky, yeah, that harem's getting kind of wide, large. World of Women, I'm surprised it's not larger, but I guess you only had one choice. My Dungeon Life would kind of be the most. But like I said, my original thing was it was the 5 girls. I don't know. Do you prefer if the story focuses on a few main heroines with the rest being side goals? This was curious to me. I really did want to know what people felt. And it seems like... No, that's actually surprising because I originally... This was winning out. But it looks like 2 to 3 main girls... Oh yeah. Okay, I get it. So the idea is you actually combine this with this question. So this is, do you prefer... And then how many do you think... So they feel 5 to 6 is a good amount, it seems, for most people. And they prefer 2 to 3 of them to be main girls, while the other 3 are more side girls. So if you're talking about, and that's not for the people who feel that everyone needs to be fleshed out. I think in general, everyone, I don't write girls that are just going to be like background noise. I try to give them some purpose. I don't always succeed with that, but I do understand to want to bring more characterization into the girls. That's definitely what I've been doing with my Dungeon Life. If you haven't noticed, the last few volumes are literally just building the characterization on these girls, going into their past, going into their traumas, but in the next few volumes, we'll continue to follow that trend. Once I'm done with the special volume with Xiao, my Yandere's life. So yeah, 6. That's kind of what I'm aiming for with Automatic Girlfriend, and I'll probably Reincarnated. It depends if you count the family. If you count the family for Reincarnated, it might be 5 or 6. If you don't count them, I don't even think it would reach 5. Yeah, part of the reason NTR Crush did well is because I had a very specific goal with that one. These were the girls he was going to get. It was going to be 1 volume per girl. If you notice, I did the same thing with My Dungeon Life, but then My Dungeon Life ended up being 15 volumes. I mean, if you read My Dungeon Life up to 5 volumes, the harem's not too big. It's just you kept getting a new girl every volume. Is it okay to introduce attractive interested in the MC without intending to make them part of the harem later? I was curious about this one. You'd expect the answer to be yes, but it looks like you got some no's and you got some depend on the circumstances. I know depend on the circumstances doesn't really say anything, but I kind of will treat it as a no, because let's face it, circumstances could be anything. And what you feel a girl needs to be in a harem or not, it just depends on how much you like the girl. So, yeah, I mean, you might as well say, if I introduce an attractive girl, she better end up in the harem if I give her any characterization. That's kind of the impression I'm getting. And that's a good 60% of my readers. So don't hate me if I stop introducing attractive girls. The problem is, when I don't intend to do a harem girl, sometimes I'll introduce an ugly girl, and then I'll use her, and eventually she's built such a backstory that people want her in the harem anyway, and then I gotta make her like retroactively attractive, kind of like I did with Brooke, because remember, she was just kind of like a tough, burly, lesbian girl. And the longer I had her in there, and the more I had her interact with Clyburn, it became a point where I'm like, oh no, she's cute. I'm like, well, technically every girl in that world is beautiful. I mean, that's kind of the point of it. So Brooke would be an attractive girl. I mean, that's just because that's the world, and the standards of beauty were higher. Because magic exists, and because it's all women, and women are ultra competitive with attractiveness. at least in the work. But yeah, that's kind of my thought on that. All right, stories releasing. Which story is your absolute favorite? Um, anyone who picked In My Dungeon Life did not get to see the next questions, so this weeded out you MDL lovers. I like MDL, but you gotta understand it's already being released at like the max. I can't put out more pictures for it. I can't put out more work for it. It is already there at complete saturation. And you guys who came for it and will stay for it and will continue to use it, I mean, it's great. I love that I have a nice, strong story that's people will read, and I certainly have at least another 10 volumes planned in my head, and I don't see it ending short of 30 volumes or 40 volumes, so it's going to be releasing for a long time. But sometimes I'm looking at trying to attract more people, and it's like, if you already like MDL, then you're here. And unfortunately on Scribble Hub and Royal Road and anywhere else I put it up, there's this group of haters that just dunk on it so badly that it stifles my ability to attract more people to be reading. I can't tell you how many times I get a poll on Royal Road, or a review, and it's very funny because I'll get a review that's half a star and says this is the worst thing ever, this is just garbage, and then I'll get a 5-star review and I'll be like, this story is great. I've been holding it off because of all these negative reviews, but now that I read it, I really like this story. Then I get a half-star review. Oh, this is just the worst crap ever. Why do people even read this? Then another 5-star review, and it's been like that for the last couple of months. I'll get a half-star, then a 5-star, then a half-star, then a 5-star, and it kind of just comes down to the point of all these hateful reviews. Most of them don't read it. They literally rate it based on the summary, because I wrote the summary before I wrote the story. Naturally, it doesn't really summarize it properly. So I'll have people who, saying it's a rape fiction, or that it's just a superpower power fantasy that's demeaning to women, or it's mostly feminist crap. That's the people that hate it. Even though most of the girls he slept with weren't slaves during their first sexual experience, they came on to him, some quite aggressively, like Xiao, who literally dragged him into the bedroom and ripped off his clothes. But yeah, so there's a lot of hate generated towards My Dungeon Life. That stifles its ability to reach the public. So the point I was trying to make in that overly long description is that when it comes to you guys, I like your enthusiasm, but I want to give my other fans a chance to get something too. So like I did the survey of, I probably won't be able to reach it. I did the survey for the next chapter to read, and it's My Dungeon Life. I kind of expected it would end up being My Dungeon Life. It's kind of a little sad it is, but that they have a big fan base, and that's the story that's going to be selected. And I set it up specifically so that once a series has been selected one month, it won't be selected again until next month. So that My Dungeon Life doesn't end up being all 4 chapters, because that's exactly what would happen. Is that that majority would vote up My Dungeon Life for everything, and you kind of see with this survey, My Dungeon Life basically beats everything else because it's just got the biggest fan base, and it's got the biggest fan base not because it's the best written story, but because of the incredibly rapid releases that put it. That's just the one I work on the most. It's got the most content, and it's also highest rated on Scribble Hub and Royal Road. It shows up, more people see it. So I like it. It's great that it's popular. It's kind of it's great because it's popular, but it's popular because it's great. You know, it's kind of one of those, if that makes sense. It's kind of one of those catch-22s. But when I'm talking about growing, it's usually not what I want to put all my time into to grow. It's like it's already at a saturation point where I don't see it doing any better. Anyway, if I reduce the release of so I asked this question for people who aren't MDL fanatics. If I reduce the release of MDL in exchange for release of more of something else, should I? And it's about half. So there's, a 1/5 people who might say MDL is their second favorite and they like it releasing that fast. But there's a good 75% of people, over closer to 80, that want me to work on something else. I'm actually not sure if I'm going to do that. I've considered it, and I'm kind of sitting on that knowledge. I think something like I would still release 5 times a week, but I would only release 2 chapters instead of 3. So that would be one option. Heck, even if I released 2 chapters instead of 3, but did it 7 days a week, it would only be 14 chapters versus 15. That wouldn't be enough of a change that it would really make things better. But they would have this. You wouldn't have your weekend break that you're forced to take, and I know a lot of people don't like the weekend break. So that's an option. I mean, I would basically need to drop about 5 chapters to leave room to be able to pick up something else. What that something else is, that's the other problem. That would be split amongst everyone, and you can see in the next here, what would you prefer instead of MDL, that no one really can decide on what that next thing would be. The release of 2 rotations a week seems to be the highest. I thought it would be Enslaved, but Enslaved only got 15%. Reincarnated, that got a fair amount of vote. People wanted that brought into a weekly release. But the biggest one seems to be the release of 2 rotations a week, because that would make everything that's currently getting a monthly release would become a bi-weekly release. You would see it every 2 weeks, and I think that appeals to a lot of people. I don't know. That's an option, I guess. It looks like most people aren't interested in Against the Gods. I'm kind of sad by that. I liked Against the Gods. It was a very different story from what I used to usually write. I like things that really are more whatever. This story I wrote is kind of a lot like what's that story called? Fimbulwinter, the Daniel Black series. I kind of wrote it based on that. I was trying to create a very high octane, very ultra masculine kind of 300 style book. So that was what I was aiming for with that one. So all the characters are kind of larger than life. Anyway, if I did drop it, it would probably end up being 2 rotations a week. Whether I want to do that or not, I'm still debating. I don't know if that would help my case or hurt my case, if it would cause more people to be angry or less. Because I know right off the bat, 1/3 of my audience are MDL fans, and they would be unhappy if I lowered the amount of releases. And even from the remaining 1/5 of those don't think I should. So we're talking almost half of everybody, 40%, maybe 45%, that would not be okay with me reducing it. Yeah, I like Fimbulwinter. That's actually one of my favorite books. It's kind of one I wanted to write a story like for a while, kind of an RPG apocalypse, super powered story with fort building. I like the idea of the fort building, but yeah. The other thing I wrote Against the Gods is what's it called? Suddenly my mind's going blank. Hail to the King. It's a very strange story, but it was a lot of fun until it kind of just got too annoying. Its OP concept was really weird. It was like the guy could leave the world. He like lived in a world that was like a Zenzia world, and he could leave the world and go into Diablo, like the video game Diablo, but as an actual world. And anything he gained playing Diablo, he would then have in the other world. And so that's how he became super powered. But yeah, it was just kind of weird, and I loved the story. I loved kind of the epicness of the fights. But I lost interest after a while because he started switching to other games I hadn't heard of, and he started like taking people from the game world into the normal world, and it got a bit much, and I was just like, nah. But if you haven't noticed, a lot of the stories I write is because I encounter a book I liked, but I didn't like how it ended up being implemented. Even my dungeon life was actually the other story, slave harem dungeons, and I really hated some aspects of that story, so I wanted to rewrite it and give it something with a bit more flair to it. All right. What if I reduced MDL chapters to 3 a day for 3 days and 2 for like Friday and Saturday? Well, the problem with that would be I'd only be reducing 2 chapters. And like I said, I need at least 5 chapters down before it'd be enough that I could pick up another story. Because you gotta consider I write 500 words each chapter, so I would need to drop 2,000 to 2,500 words before I could pick up something else. And there's also something to be said about the time it takes to refamiliarize myself with a story. So when I'm always writing MDL, it's slightly easier. Where if I'm picking up a story I haven't touched in 2 weeks, there's certain amount of acclimation I need to do to refamiliarize myself with where I was and what was going on. So that's the difficult. So and my microphone got unplugged. That's what happened. All right, I don't know how much I lost from what I was saying, but what I was saying. Sorry about that. Sorry, I lost sound. I was saying I'm gonna try to move a little faster here to try to finish this up since we've already been on for about 2 hours. My microphone came undone. Anyway, what I was trying to say is that the story's on rotation. The Last Dread Pirate seems to have the most people who want to drop them. I actually, if I'm being honest, it was one of the chapters that is most difficult to write of the 4 rotation chapters, because it is 3,000 words, and I'm focusing only on a small subset of characters. Where you have Rise of the Midnight King, you have a lot of characters. When you write as Zenzia, they have kind of this different way of writing that is just easier. And so, yeah, I don't know. I'm not going to drop any of them. But, yeah, Requiem to the Stars also isn't very popular. You can see right here. Oh, well. Have you read Requiem to the Stars? I wanted to see who's read them and who hasn't read them. If you haven't read them, I ask these questions. Why'd you avoid it? A lot of my fans just don't like sci-fi. That seems to be the one. I didn't like this option. I wouldn't have had this option. The I haven't gotten around to it option. Because, frankly, the question becomes, why have you not gotten around to it, but you've gotten around to the other three, you know? You've read Requiem, you've read Reincarnated, you've read Last Dread Pirate, but you didn't read, you didn't read Requiem, but you read Reincarnated, Rise, and Dread Pirate. So why was it the one you didn't read? So this really doesn't tell me much, because I don't buy that. There's a specific reason that most people didn't read it. I don't like sci-fi, seems to be one of the biggest reasons. The summary didn't appeal to me. I did rewrite the summary, hopefully to be more appealing to people. I don't know if it is or not. And the title name, I've considered renaming it. I don't know. That's an option. It was the first one I started, but I mean, there's no reason if you like MDL, you wouldn't like Requiem. It's not. It was never written as a science fiction story. It was written as a fantasy story in a sci-fi setting. So it's an isekai. Like I said, I wrote it based on Arifureta, the isekai. And so it was my take on an isekai. I added the sci-fi element just because I'm not a sci-fi reader, I should say. I don't read any sci-fi. I read fantasy. So, but I guess writing it detracted a lot of people, sadly. Alright, moving on. If I point out that, yeah, I was just saying, this was actually, some of these questions I ask, I don't ask because I'm looking for an answer. I'm asking to inform people that they exist. So I'm just kind of like, hey, read Requiem. Did you read NTR Crush? I had this question. What'd you think of it? I just wanted feedback. I don't get a lot of feedback for finished series. In fact, finishing a series is almost a punishment because as soon as I finish it, a bunch of people will drop and leave because their story they liked is no longer there. So it's rarely advantageous to me. This was another question. Partially was just to show people, like tell people stuff existed as it was to get a feedback on them. I mean, basically I'm just looking kind of whoever is higher up. I probably shouldn't have included I didn't know this was a thing because, ouch. Because the question is how interested are you, and you could only pick one option. So if you picked that option, then I'm missing out on finding out how interested you were in it based on the explanation. I mean, it's nice knowing how little people knew these are things. Kind of shows how little people looked. I mean, it wasn't hard to find the podcast or the strip. You kind of had to go out of your way not to look for them if you were looking at all. But like I said, I shouldn't expect people to look, I guess. So I kind of use a survey as a way of telling people these things exist. Interest was very... The only things that seemed to have a lot of interest were the strip, the visual novel, and the review list. Now, going back to the review list might be interesting. It would be kind of... yeah, I don't know. So the strip I'm going to continue to do. I've debated not going back. It doesn't seem like most people cared about the podcast. So I'm probably not going to move forward with the podcast. The World of Women comic book, it doesn't seem to have too much interest. But I want to finish it because I started it. As long as my illustrator's willing to stick with me to the end, we'll get to the end of that. The first volume. I won't continue on to the second volume, but I'm going to get an entire volume of World of Women drawn up. The visual novel is something that's going to require time. I need to learn how to use Ren'Py. That's the software that allows you to do visual novels. I had a guy who seemed like promising that he might help with doing the images, but he kind of disappeared and just hasn't said much since. And since I haven't been doing anything with it, I haven't really responded to him. So, it is what it is. This I haven't done anything with in a long time, but seeing the results here, I might return to it. Make it easier to read and easier to follow for people. And, yeah, it's been a while since I've read some isekai. I could probably use it to spark my creative flow again. How do you feel about the author? I usually throw this in there just to kind of acknowledge my flaws. Not that anyone likes to get a 2 on the author. You know, why are you even giving me money if you feel that's... I don't know. that's kind of one of my thoughts. I'm like, why are you a member if you think I'm garbage? But I guess whatever. Thanks for the money, I guess. A lot more people think my actions were acceptable than that I was rude or otherwise condescending towards people. I kind of... it doesn't really matter. I get these comments from people that just like try to nitpick at a chapter, and I'll just respond, and then they'll get all offended by my response, and I'm like, you came into my website, you went onto my comment section in my chapter that I wrote, and then started spouting some nonsense. Do you really think that I'm not gonna... I mean, this is the part, because I wrote right here, nobody, not a single person thinks I should shut up and write without engaging with the fan base. Not a single person thinks that I should just write. I found that to be surprising, because I've received other things that are kind of the equivalent of that. But it's like, so you want me to talk, and you want me to respond to you, but you don't want me to act, honestly, or how I'm actually feeling about the situation. You basically want me to be fluffy and in rainbows, even though you're dumping on my material, and even when it's like blatantly wrong, like blatantly just shows you have no clue what happened, 3 chapters ago or 2 chapters ago, and there'll be these comments, and they'll just be like, come on, just read the darn story. Or they'll be nitpicking about something that's just so insignificant. Like this stuff where it's just like, I found a plot hole. You didn't say that he took off his shirt. And I'm like, okay, he took off his shirt. I mean, it's just like, is that... I do, there are scenes where underwear will appear or disappear, and I do want to fix those plot holes. That's a plot hole. But there's some things where it's just like, well, you didn't say it happened, so it didn't happen. And I'm like, oh, come on, guys. But, so I don't know if I'm going to ever stop being rude and condescending. I'm earning my doctorate. Most of you know this, but I'm a biomedical major. I went to school. I have a bachelor's in biology, and I went to school for 9 years to earn my doctorate. And I am graduating at the end of this year. I did reapply, and so there's probably going to be a time in a few months where I'm going to ask you guys to let me take in a break so I can finish everything up. In fact, this weekend I'm supposed to be going through my review paper and getting it to my boss, which I haven't done because I'm a bump, but I'm committed to finishing. So the point is, I'm gonna always be a little condescending because when you get to that level of education, where you do know a lot and you tend to have the high reasoning skills, and then you got someone who comes on and spouts some nonsense, or the people who just kind of question me like I would never do this. I would act this way, and I would do this, and this, and this. And because I always write my characters to what I feel is logical and what made sense at the time. So when you question their actions like that, you're kind of calling me an idiot. You're kind of saying, because when I make a character act in a way I would consider logical at that time, it's how I felt about it, and then you say that's wrong. You say that's what an idiot or a moron would do. You're kind of saying I'm an idiot and a moron, and I know that's not what you mean. I know that's not, or I'm not you guys, but the people who say this mean. But I have my own pride. I'm established, so I'm going to be a little condescending sometimes. Sometimes it's very difficult not to talk down to people in some instances. So most of the time I try to be humorous, and that's the other thing. I don't think people get the humor a lot. Most of the time I'm just poking fun, and I'm using sarcasm or humor to kind of deflect how hurtful the comments are. No, just how I'm just trying to be playful about it, and a lot of people don't get my play as being playful, and they get upset, and then have a freak out. And if you've had a freak out on me, usually I just if anyone who gets to the point where it's like, why are you so rude, or why do you, I block them. So I have a group of people on Discus that leave comments, and I don't see your comments because I'm not going to respond to somebody who I'm only going to offend and piss off, So that's what I've made some comments in the past, like, hey, I don't see what this person said. I'm not going to see what this person said. So what are you talking about? So, because there are a few people, there are about 4 or 5 people I ignore, and I ignore them because I offended them at some point. And to be honest, if I wanted to completely renege thing, if I just wanted to act like a perfect angel and only say nice things and respond to everyone with a thank you and a please, begging you guys and acting perfectly nice, I could go back and I'm saying there's no way I could change how people perceive me at this point. Even if I was just overwhelmingly nice from now on, even if I just went back and deleted every single comment I ever made, and I have done that to an extent. I've actually gone back to previous conversations, the ones where I felt like I was being a bit of a bitch, and I do delete those comments. But yeah, at some point I don't think it would matter. Changing people's perception of me, I don't think is going to be possible at this point. But that's kind of my thing about it. So I don't know if I can change it. It's clear that people don't want me to just shut up and not talk. They want me to engage with them. But if you're going to engage with me, you wave the red flag, you get the horns. No, whatever that kind of thing. So yeah, whatever. How do you feel about the website? I know that the website has issues. Basically, if people reached a certain amount, I wanted a response. Hopefully, the problems have most of been fixed. So someone on here just said that they're still getting glitches. Please email me. Tell me what glitch you're seeing. Maybe give me a screenshot, and I will look into seeing if I can get it fixed. If you're talking about sometimes you'll just go to the website and then it'll pop up an error, I don't know how to fix that. My website is just too popular for my hosting service. I think the answer is to buy a bigger hosting service, to move to cloud computing or something else. It would cost a lot more money than I originally bought. I have the money now with how much I'm being donated to that it's possible to do it that way. But I'm not 100% knowledgeable if that'll solve the situation. But I think I need to just get a bigger... My site's too big, is basically it. I have too many features on my site. My site is getting too complicated that these errors are popping up because basically the site gets overloaded. So you'll get times where there's massive slowdown. You get times where basically there's only so many queries that can run through my site. And if it hits the max number of queries, the entire site will shut down and it won't load anyone else until those queries have been cleared. And I don't know how to clear those queries automatically. Supposedly there's some programming language, but I've talked to a few guys telling them to clean up that programming language, and I don't know if they've done it. They've certainly not resolved the issues. But yeah, so once in a blue moon, you'll come to the site, you'll load a page, and it'll load out like white, or just some error, say 404 or something like that. And then you reload it, and it'll immediately load the page. Or sometimes it'll be out for 30 minutes or an hour or something. Right now, the only solution I can think of is by either leaving my current host, which I bought 4 years of them, and I still have 3 years left. So I would basically be tossing away the hosting service. So leaving my host or paying them more and trying to get on a higher program. When I bought the program I bought business, and that was supposed to be one of the higher tier programs, I thought. But now they're claiming there's like 5 tiers higher that are called cloud computing. Like I said, I don't know much about any of this, but if I pay a lot more a month than I'm currently paying, I could switch to cloud computing, and that might, I don't even know for certain, but it might fix the glitches, and it might speed my website up considerably. But I would still be stuck with Hostinger, which is who I'm currently using as my host. And the reason I'm using Hostinger rather than some more well-known one is because I had Googled it, and Hostinger, I was certain, allowed erotica. Because for those of you guys who know, in 2019 in December, my website got axed by WordPress. WordPress shut down my website and said that I wasn't allowed to be a member, to be with them anymore. So Hostinger that I got was actually an emergency over Christmas break. I was literally desperately trying to get my site back up after suddenly being axed. So that's that. That's why I have Hostinger. They were cheap at the time. I got a good deal on them, and I thought I was getting a good service. And I'm not sure Hostinger's service has been that great. But yeah. In the future, we'll see. Okay, what would be your opinion if I offered another round of locked chapters at the $10 tier? I asked this for everybody. I would cancel my membership in protest. I don't know about this one. I almost feel like the people who are writing this are lying. They're saying that I want to call them on their bluff. Because I feel like, why? You're not getting any less content, you know? Alright, so, but I got just as many people that would sign up. So, presuming these people are $5 or less, if all these people who quit were replaced by all these people who signed up, I would be getting, 30 times 5, I'd only be losing 13 times 5. So it'd be a net profit for me. If I did create a $10 tier, it seems. That's what that tells me. And most people wouldn't care. At least half wouldn't care. Think I should do whatever I want. So, right now, the way I'm doing the $10 tier, I am doing the $10 tier. It is being brought in, but it's being done as a vote, and it's only going to be one chapter a week, and it's going to be whatever people vote on. So they're slowly going to build up a $10 tier, and it'll benefit the $5 people because you'll get extra chapters eventually. So the $5 people should have no reason to complain because it'll actually help you out. The only people it doesn't do anything for are the $2 people, and since the $2 people aren't buying $5, then they shouldn't care about it anyway because they're already behind in releases. So it doesn't matter how much farther ahead I get with them. But the way I see it, the way I've designed this in my head, there's going to be a building $10 tier. It's only going to be about 2 chapters ahead. It's going to be like what early access was, and then all the other chapters are going to get shifted over to the $5 tier. So the $5 are going to get an extra release every now and then, which is good for you guys. They're getting more. And then the $10 tier exists for those who want to be at the front. And for the few people who want to complain about it, I don't know. If you're going to cancel because of... I mean, I'm assuming most of these people who claim they're totally going to release are... Only half of them are actually going to do what they say they do. Because everyone's going to say they're going to do something. And yeah, once again, so many of these are written, but there's very little I can make out of a single comment. Apparently people had a lot to say. About it. Someone doesn't even know what JIT means. I don't know. If two ebooks per month were offered, I'm offering that at the $15 tier. I know it's not what something you wanted. You only wanted to go up to 10, but I felt that 15. I wanted 10 to be more tempting. I want 15 to be more tempting. Now the only tier that I don't feel like you really get anything more at is the $25 tier, which I could make 3 books available. That's an option. Because honestly, when you get to $50 tier, you can get everything. So it won't be in your store. So when you're at the $50 tier, you can download all the books, but you won't see them in your storefront. So that might be, some people would want that. So I've, talking with you guys and thinking about it, I might go ahead and open up a third ebook at the $25 tier for the collectors of the group. Alright. Do you have any comments for me? Thanks for the smut. I do love these. One of the reasons I like doing surveys is because most of you are very supportive, and you write a lot of thank yous. And sometimes the only times I don't get a lot of comments in my chapters, but here anonymously, this is where I hear a lot of this, and it makes me feel good. Yeah, I'm debating coming up with a book that is mom son con, but the mom is kind of yandere, and focusing on that. So I have Enslaved that has that, and I have there's another book I think that has a yandere mom, but my mind's not there right now. But I'm thinking of creating a book focused purely on the mother-son incest, because that seems to be something people want. It'll be a one-shot at some point in the future, and it won't necessarily go anywhere for a while. Because you make so many stories at once, I suggest making some basic character sheets for each story for yourself. So I bought a notebook recently, and I am starting to write stuff down. Believe it or not, with all the books I have and everything I do, it's all in my head. So maybe you can understand how I became or how I'm earning my doctorate, that I'm able to do that. But yeah, I kept it all in my head, and yeah, I wouldn't be like crazy yandere. I just saw Voodoo Magic's comment. It would just be kind of like her, just a very dare mom who doesn't have boundaries, and with sexual overtones. Because I still think that's probably one of the reasons WoW was so popular, was because the mother-son stuff. Yeah, it was WoW. WoW was the other one with a slightly crazy mother. Because that's the one thing I haven't really replicated too often, is the mother-son. And I'm thinking maybe writing a story based on that. Anyway, where was I? Oh yeah, I was talking about character sheets. I've started writing in character sheets, but I used to not do that. I'm doing that now. Alright. And Enslaved, poor Olivia's boobs got spoiled every time, man. Such things don't really figure out, but they can be a bit distracting. Yeah, that might have happened. I tried, I have editors that read through it. They're supposed to I'm hoping they catch these things, but they really don't. That's one of the things I wish I had someone better at catching plot holes for me. Hitler did nothing wrong. Alright. whatever. Long surveys are long. Still love you, though, even though they like doing painful plot twists. Well. Some of my stories aren't that painful. I think doing fewer stories but more chapters might be the best for higher revenue. You know, I always show this, but there's there's no story that stands out. So what would get me what could I focus on that would get me more? Like I said, my dungeon life is the most popular, so you say, oh, I should just totally go all in on my dungeon life and not worry about any of the other stories. I guarantee you that will not give me more money. That will actually end up causing a mass quitting of people who get really pissed at me, and I wouldn't pick up any new people because I have this large group that seems to hate my dungeon life to death, that are determined to cripple me in every avenue I try to put it out in. Sorry, blah, blah, blah. Instead of NTR NCR, you should write a story like Isekai Tanoya. Yeah, I don't know what that story. I'd have to Google it. It's a good combination of dark and comedy. I look at it. I don't know about it. I've had a lot of people say that I should just write a more generic Isekai outside of MDL. Even though MDL was written as my attempt at a generic Isekai. I don't know. You know, just more of a hero story, I guess. I don't know. Why are all the women bashful versions? Because every time I write a skank, people get pissy about it. Seriously, that's the answer. When you write, I've tried to write skanks, and part of it is I can't shut off my brain. So I guess that's not exactly true. You could write a slutty version, you know, the girl who really wants it and really acts provocative but has never had sex, and some guys like that. But to me, I can't shut my brain off enough to write it, because just the idea of a girl who's just never done anything but totally slutty towards the MC, just, it doesn't fit in my brain. And to be honest, that's what Lydia was. I mean, Lydia was a slutty version. I mean, that was a story I made since then. But, yeah, Rosie's a good example. Roxy Rose. I mean, she was a porn star, and I got some hate from her. There were people who've begged me not to use her again on that story. Like, seriously, I have posts of people begging me to kick her out because they just hate the idea of a tainted woman with the MC. You're doing great. Remember to keep taking your breaks. Yeah, I mean, this is my break. My break is 3-hour live stream, publishing 2 ebooks, and I had planned a vacation last year, but then COVID happened and ruined that vacation, and to this day I still haven't had it. So, and it won't be this year. I won't be having a vacation. So there's that. Actually, I am planning to have a vacation. It's probably going to be the first week of August. So my next week off should be a vacation week. Which means nobody needs to have any problems that week. Don't. I won't be available. I'll have to let Roundakama know. I gotta hand somebody the keys to my site to be able to handle problems if I'm not around. Alright. Please drop MDL. Place on Hey Hate Us for a couple of months. I'm bored of it. Yeah, that's gonna happen. Please spend time on daily life. That is a problem of mine. I acknowledge that. I don't spend enough time on daily life stuff. I agree, 100%. Rise of the Midnight King is my favorite story. Drop MDL is boring compared to your other story. I love how many of these drop MDL comments I'm getting. Oh, lovely. There is quite a few grammar shakes for some chapters when released to early access. This is this is what I mean. This is the how do you? There you go. There's your sign. Do you have an editor? There's quite a few grammar mistakes and early access. Oh. You know, I played an early access game recently, and it wasn't the entire game with no glitches. Oh, gosh. Do what you were doing. Thank you for the contents. Not, you could have just not answered. I mean, it's not like you needed to. Whatever. Good work overall. I wish some of the stories I loved had faster, more releases. Don't we all? At the same time, part of the reason I don't write more with a lot of these stories is because it's difficult to. It's actually I can only really push out so fast with some stories, like some of the ones like Enslaved. I struggle a lot with Enslaved. That's why when I'm late a release, it's usually not because I was busy or I couldn't get right. It's usually just because I cannot bring myself to write the next chapter. It's just not a story that flows as easily. My Dungeon Life, I could write little chapters forever. I mean, it's very easy for me to pump them out, that I'm able to keep going like it is. But other stories are just more difficult, either because what I'm writing is entertaining or is delightful to me, or because I need to have more thought into it, so it's a little bit tiring. But yeah, some stories are easier to write than others. Just kind of the nature of it. So it isn't just a matter of write this instead of that. It's what I can write and how I write it. Alright, I hope you consider marking the chapters with erotica scenes like you do for MDL with the 0.5 chapters. Just skip them, and some like me would want to go back to the chapters. That is a thought, and that's actually a good idea of marking erotica. I don't know how I'd go about doing it. It would be a lot of work, but I could. It would be an option. I could start with Guy on a spaceship and Moth, and or I could even ask someone, just say, "Hey, read this book and tell me mark each one. Just give me the chapter and I'll mark them." I might do that. That's actually a good idea. I've seen other people do it. It makes sense. Great catch. I don't care much for the visual commissions. I like the written stuff more. Please, less drama. I don't care at all for it. The drama is half of why people read the stories, though. I mean, WoW is a dramatic story, and it is. That's kind of where it comes from. Yeah, well, I can't listen to all advice. I would literally conflict myself a dozen times if I tried to listen to everyone's advice. Don't give up on sex trafficking. Sex trafficking has always just been a fluff story I write in between other stories. It's not my major story. It's just if I need a break between volumes, I will write STD. They're shorter stories or shorter chapters, so they're easy to pop out. So they give me a little bit of a break. That's why I like using them. I didn't last time between NTR. I was eager to get Enslaved started because... Well, no, wait. Was it Apocalypse? I wanted to build up Apocalypse chapters. I don't know. I didn't last time. I jumped right into the next thing. You're familiar with your Tales series. I enjoy them a lot. Yeah, I had someone say that Tales Demon of the Queen was really crappy. I don't know. I haven't got, once again, it's one of the stories I haven't gotten a lot of feedback back yet. So I don't know how it's being received. I heard... Sorry. I heard, Seductress was the best, and everyone loved that one. I've heard people have mixed feelings about Enslaved, some saying it wasn't as good as the first. And then with Demon Queen, the only thing I've heard so far is that it sucks. It was so horrible, and I hate it. I don't know. They were probably assuming the girl was going to be OP for the rest of the book, and she wasn't at the beginning of this book. In fact, she was kind of spiraling into a circle of self-pity, and so that might have been why some people didn't like it. But yeah, there's never going to be a moment in Tales series where she's going to be, I mean, she has badass moments where she's, uses her powers to the fullest and does crazy stuff, but there's never a point where she's just going to be, completely, whatever, I don't know. The story usually is what it is. People seem to think that 4 chapters or 4 volumes in, I'm suddenly going to make it a completely different story. I don't know if you read stories like that. That's just not how I write. I think the story with the biggest change would probably be NTR Crush. Volume 6 and 7 were quite a lot different than the first 5. But that's about the extent of the change I would write. So I don't think any of my stories are going to be like, this was the story and now it's the story. It's like, no, it's going to continue to be more of the same. And that's, if you get bored of it, like people apparently are getting bored of MDL, well, that happens. Hopefully I'll end the stories before then. I saw a comment explaining that public release schedule was 2 years behind what people who pay have access to MDL. I don't know if that's true. There's an easy way to find out. My Dungeon Life. When did I put out the most recent chapter of public? January 2020. Nope, it's only 1 year. Only 1 year. You're wrong. Sorry. Yeah, imagine. I was only on chapter 466 a year ago. A year and 5 months. I guess it's close to 2 years. Close enough. I'll give you the benefit of the doubt and round up. But, whatever. You like the new story? That's great. Of Automatic Girlfriend. I'm not getting a lot of comments on it. When I don't get a lot of comments, my opinion is that people aren't that invested in it. I have only seen one. I saw a lot more comments with the Untitled Zombie story. So at the moment, I'm inclined to want to work more on this. I've already committed to Automatic Girlfriend, by the way. But not for you guys. It's for Amazon Vela, or wherever it is. That's why I committed to it. Alright. We're almost done. I'm just going to go down here. Thanks. I appreciate it. Yeah, I love these comments. It's really nice. Just, like I said, so oh, Chan's cute. I don't like how her personality is one of a dirty slut, though. There you go. There's my slut. No one likes a slut. She's got to be a virgin. Please continue to be great. See, she didn't really have a personality right now, to be honest. I don't think I've done much to give her a personality. So it could be anything. Someone on Discord was going on about how they wanted to see her as in a certain way, and I don't know, whatever. Yeah, I don't know why. She said three train wrecks I've read. Yeah, I don't. Some people just have whatever issues. I don't know why people didn't like Volume 2 of It's Not Easy in Apocalypse. I literally don't know. It was fine. I mean, it was fine. I thought the story was good. It ended on a great note. I thought everything about it was interesting. I mean, the only thing was that it that it focused on, this whole rescue thing versus, his continued money stuff. And maybe that was the problem. People just wanted the back and forth with trading, and they didn't want a story or character development. So I don't know. This, I have regrets not because of I felt the story was bad. In fact, I think the way this turned out, the volume 10, 11, and 12, which ended, Demon Lord Aberrus with the big fight. I think that volume 12 was really awesome. I think it was one of the best stuff. I loved that fight. I loved writing it. I loved conceiving it. And I think that people who just couldn't handle this because, oh God, it's just, I don't know. I rewrote it, by the way. I rewrote parts of it so that it's easier to swallow. I got rid of that joke chapter, which was a joke chapter, by the way, of him with the fairies. And I rewrote it so you don't find out about the gender thing until volume 11. And by the time you do find out about it, he's already switched. So, back to male. So there's no Fuda. He's literally, that's wrong. That's not what happened. But, and there's no gender bending either. I mean, it's just, appears in a female body. But yeah, I loved volume 12. I thought that all this stuff was building up, and it was a very good climax that I really enjoyed. So that's my opinion. But people couldn't handle it and dumped out early. Same with volume 3 of WoW. Why that one I was trying something new. Basically, when I was writing volume 3, I was experimenting. I was trying to renew my own personal interest in V3. So I was doing out of the box thinking with it, and some of it didn't land that people liked it as well. I was trying. I'll just say that. I don't know, once again, about Apocalypse, why so many people hate V2. That was a joke chapter of a threesome, and there was no whatever, It was literally a strap-on, a magical strap-on. It was not him having a vagina and a pussy at the same time. It was a magical strap-on, and whatever. There's no, like I said, I wrote it purely as a joke, but it's gone. That chapter's gone. I got rid of it. The chapter no longer exists. You can't find it. Well, maybe you can if you go into some kind of history thing. Anyway, so while V3, I was experimenting with trying to remain interested in the story because I was losing a lot of my interest. This I think is a freaking joke, and I would have written things differently if I knew so many people would react so violently to the story. Even though the way it turned out, I actually really loved the ending. I thought the V12 climax was probably one of the best things I'd written. And so everyone who quit at V10 because, oh my God, there's that happened. Well, you missed out. Sorry. And then I don't really understand why people don't like V2. V3, I stopped. I'm returning to just pure wish fulfillment. So don't worry, I won't have characterization. I won't no longer have people who learn and develop and experience hardships. I've learned my lesson. From now on, he'll just be pure wish fulfillment. And getting blocked by so many barriers, though. I don't know what there's not to understand with this. Like I said, you won't reach any blocks if you go by. So this person says, you're doing good. It's frustrating trying to read stuff and getting blocked by so many barriers, though. It's often unclear when I hit a paywall. I don't know why. Literally, these are the ones that have paywalls. These are the ones that are free. These are the ones that have membership. If you click on any of these, it's free up to there. It costs $2 up to there, and now it's $5. And there might be a $10 eventually. That's it. I don't. Now, once in a while, this won't match perfectly, and maybe 29 was supposed to be here, or maybe I didn't unlock it properly, in which case it needs to be unlocked. But I don't know. I don't know how to make it clear. I feel some of your work may have been a little rushed to meet deadlines. I'm finding minor typos. Once again, I know you're going into early access and complaining about typos in early access. I do not feel recently that there's been... Now, there are times I felt restrained and rushed. I could say that about Volume 3 of WoW. I had a lot of trouble writing that volume. And I do feel a lot of chapters are forced out. I would not say anything I've been writing recently that I felt forced to put out or that my quality has dropped as a result. That's just my personal opinion. It's up to you to agree or disagree. But that's... And mostly just thank yous. Oh gosh, what did I do? I didn't mean to do that. Alright, anyway, that was my survey. I mean, the non-members, I asked a few questions. Why did you stop being a member if you were a member before? And the general answer is just waiting to build up more chapters, or that it released too slowly. I asked if they were happy with the book covers. What element do I need to spend more time on? It was actually a lot more balanced. Everyone just kind of had more balanced opinions on stuff. Once again, there seems to be this push for mother-son incest. So I'm really thinking about moving in that direction. Pick the story you feel has too many waifus. Mostly World of Women. Yeah, well, I don't disagree. Any other specific questions to them? I mean, there's a few differences. I care more about membership than I care about non-membership. In general, just because obviously you're the guys that I'm trying to please. Less people have a problem with me. It's only my members that have personal problems with me. That's kind of funny. Yeah. Anyway, I'm not gonna go through all the comments there. All right. I guess the thing would be to ask questions if anyone has any questions. I see Charles. You say Wiz have I read Road of King to Kingdom? I started it. I wasn't a big fan. I've had a lot of people tell me I should write like them. I don't know. It's not been my favorite story. I have elements of it. I wrote in what's the story called? All Gods Must Die. That I wrote. I made a gladiator character, kind of like Road to Kingdom. But yeah, I only read a few chapters, and it just wasn't really for me. I don't know. I could read a lot more and get more into it and see if I like it or not, but I haven't really. Does anyone have any other questions? I think I'm basically done with the survey. You got any questions about the survey? Any questions about me? Any questions about one of the works? I guess now my attention's on the board. I'm looking back to see if I missed any questions from earlier. Is the WoW V3 when he became the prince and other buddy? Yeah, that's the one. A lot of people hated that one for some reason. They really hated the fact that Lydia slept with him, and got pregnant. It's like, oh my god, that's NTR. she had sex with another man, maybe, but not really. I don't know. I did like how it ended up ending. All the male Extended Protection Act stuff. I think that was really good. So I was very happy with that. How can you NTR yourself? That's not Lydia. Oh my gosh. She used to be the... It's actually because of WoW Volume 3 that she turned out not to be the main, I can't remember her name. It's something with an L. Wow. Yeah, I haven't put myself in that in a while. She actually used to be the mascot, and it was because of Volume 3 that she was removed at the mascot. Lyra, that's the name. Lyra here. She wasn't the mascot, but it was because people were so traumatized by her first time because it wasn't how they wanted her first time to be. That ended up. But yeah, she was originally my mascot. I had a bunch of drawings for her from illustrators, and then she ended up actually being my banner girl for a while before I came up with Watchan. Do I have her? Moving up there. Yeah, she was responsible for my original banners. Oh, that's way too small. You can't see that. FYI, I just hired someone to make Watchan in a very similar position to this, because I like this position so much for banners, and I wanted a little bit of variety because Watchan only has one position right now. But yeah, people hated Lena. They were so... Or Lyra. See, I'm not even getting her name right. She ended up having trouble. With Watchan, the thing I'm thinking about bringing back is like what I'm thinking about writing would be some kind of before story of how she became a website model. It'd be kind of like a B.T. Barnum thing where it's like she had a pitiable life and then I'd come in and save her, but I also want her to do things she doesn't like, and so I don't know if I would want to write a story. It's just not something I feel that passionate about right now. If I come up with a good enough story, I'll write it, of course. But I mean, it's part of the reason sometimes when I just put out a lot of chapters, it's just because I feel really like I get excited about a story, and some of that love eventually wears off once you get going. And it really isn't, because it's kind of like a relationship. When you start a new story, you have this overwhelming kind of high over writing new chapters of it. And if you take advantage of it, you can end up popping out, 10, 20, 30 chapters before it dies. That's what happened with Apocalypse. I mean, when I was writing that first volume, I wrote it all right away. Throughout 1 month, I think I released 30 days in a row. And eventually it just kind of, the high ended. And then I ended up having to get down to writing it officially. Which is when some people said the quality dropped, so I don't know. Maybe it's kind of the same with Tales of Seductress. That one I was writing very fast for the first volume. That was like released daily back in the day. I was releasing incredibly fast. That was back when I was only writing that and nothing else. But I did Tales, Enchantress, if it seems like it's not as smooth, it's because I was adapting to writing weekly and having to remember and I actually do remember I took a big break. I actually canceled and put Enchantress on hiatus for a good 6 months before I returned to it, because I had lost interest in writing it and it wasn't very popular. So, do you have your own story you like the most that you write? It changes. I mean, like I was just saying, I had certain stories I was really excited about and having a lot of fun with, and then I'll overdo it and then eventually get bored of it. Rise of the Midnight King, that's one I really enjoy writing. The Last Dread Pirate, I've had a mixed feeling for Last Dread Pirate. I really like the story, like it's very fun, and actually as a story, me personally reading, I enjoy reading it. Like just last week, I had to go to it to do something, and then I started reading it, and I kept reading it, and I started reading it like a book. So The Last Dread Pirate is totally a story I enjoy. Like it's the kind of story I'd read, but it's a bit difficult to write. So I've had people spam order chapters for me, and I was able to put them out, but eventually they're kind of tedious, so I'm not the greatest at putting out chapters. But I actually love the story. Like the story is really engaging. It's one I personally would read and have read because I'm writing it. All Gods Must Die, I'd say, is a lot of fun. I enjoy that one, writing that one. Requiem to the Stars has been okay. I kind of like that one. It seems like an MDL, like I said, I can write MDL really easily, and I do like a lot of the stuff I do with MDL. That's a lot of fun too. If there's any story I really don't like writing, it's probably Enslaved. Guy on a Spaceship is kind of getting there too, because I was never really had planned it out to be this long-running series, and I'm honestly not really at a point where it's like I know where I'm going with it, and what to do, and I'm not sure how long I want it to be either. A lot of my stories are very open-ended with kind of... I write different stories. NTR Crush, for example, I had a very specific structure. I was going to write the story a very specific way. It was going to last 6 volumes. It ended up being 7 because 6 was so long. But that was exactly what that story was going to be. On the other hand, My Dungeon Life was written extremely open with no clear ending in sight. Just kind of keep going on and on. Most of my stories, I'd say I probably write that way, with a very open-ended, this could last for a long time thing. I know most people don't get more than 100 chapters with their stories, and maybe I should decide to end some of these that way. But as I mentioned before, they're really good at punishing you when you finish a story. I mean, it's rarely like, oh yeah, I finished a story. Oh, now I got a bunch of fans. It's more like, oh yeah, I finished a story. Now I'm making $500 less a month. Yay! It's not the greatest thing. But that's not to say I'm stretching a story out too long where I feel it's overstaying its ability. MDL, I like, some people are complaining it's too long and it's boring, but I think it's just kind of gonna be that way when you have that much and you're reading it all at once. I think it's better to eat in bite sizes, which is why there's volumes, and I think it has a lot to grow and there's a lot more to happen with it. I don't feel like I'm reaching the end of my source material. Man of the House, on the other hand, I should have volumed the story, because it kind of got forced forward by a bunch of donators just handing me. Basically, the story was at a point where I wasn't writing it, and people just kept handing me. They kept sponsoring chapter after chapter, and they kept forcing it to continue. And it eventually got to the point where I had to pick it up. Because of that, it ended up getting a very weird start, and that it should have been a volume story. It should have been 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 volumes, and it should have been a girl per volume like NTR Crush, and instead it ended up this kind of strange hodgepodge of intersecting stories, and I'm not sure how I want to move forward with that, because he sort of had a time with each girl. He's kind of had an event play out with each one. He just had one with the twins. He had one with London. He had an event with Dawn. He had an event with Mackenzie. And he's had kind of an event with Bethany, but now he's having another one. And then he's going to have kind of an event with his mom. And that was kind of the intention. And now the story's ready to end. If I could rewrite it from scratch, I would probably consider making a volume each and trying to be more focused on one girl at a time. But I didn't have that plan originally, and like I said, it was kind of pushed forward with people pushing out their sponsors, and that's kind of how it just ended up. I don't know. Any other questions? I think we've been going on way longer. I think this is, a nearly 3-hour thing. Yeah, any last questions? Or otherwise I'll call it a night. I see we got up to 20 people for a short period of time. That's pretty cool. This is my biggest stream yet. Yeah, her section's kind of mixed with the current arc, the mom, from Moth. I don't know if she's gonna have her whole full fleshed out, or if her section's gonna. I mean, I'm not planning on having a banger, so if that disappoints some people, I don't know. It wasn't my plan for them to have a sexual relationship. Well, anyway. When will the next Q&A be? The next Q&A will be in 6 months in December. Yeah. I'll release the next survey in November, and then we'll have it sometime in December. So it's every 6 months. I have a big survey, and then I have a Q&A. If there was some reason I needed to have one before then, we could. I might have one in 3 months. Depending, I think I did have a little one in 3 months, every 3 months before, so there might be another one in 3 months, which will be September, I guess. Really depends. Anyway, I guess that's it. I'm just waiting a little longer to see if there's anyone else who has a question. If I didn't answer your question earlier, you can ask it again. I just didn't see it. One of the nice things of only having 14 viewers is it's really easy to answer everybody's questions and address everybody's concerns. Alright, I'm going to call it then. Thank you guys. So, how long do you plan it to be? How long MDL? Like I said, it's got at least another 20 volumes. I have no plan to end anytime soon. I mean, he's not even out of Aberrus. I mean, he's barely... Oh, he is out of Aberrus, but he's barely gone out of Aberrus at this point. He's got a long way to go. Alright, I'm going to call it then. Have a good one, and thank you all for coming. I appreciate it. Thank you all for your support. I really would not be doing this without you guys. I mean, seriously, 3 years ago, I never thought this would be what I'd be doing. I never thought I'd be earning this much, or being able to put my life together this way. I could not have. I couldn't even imagine how I would have survived COVID without you guys. Just because my kids were suddenly at home, and I had all this stuff I had to manage, and just working from home, which, like I said, I never expected to be doing this stuff 3 years ago. I just wrote as a hobby, and so what you guys have done is just great, and I really appreciate it. I hope to continue to produce content for you guys, and that you continue to enjoy the stuff I produce. When I finish these stories, I'll start new stories. I've not reached my creative dead end yet. I haven't been drained yet. In fact, I feel like lately I've been more on top of things and getting out of a slump. If anything, the slump I've been in was the last year. And I think I'm getting, which I think everybody's been in a slump the last year. So I feel like in the future things are going to get better for a lot of this. So thank you. I appreciate all of you, and have a great day. See you guys. Bye.